FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
So far, every horse that has taken on Flightline has felt nothing but his jet wash. And we're going to get a good look up close this morning here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We'll also get a look at his competition. Life is Good is expected to take the lead in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, but can he hold off the amazing Flightline? Then there is the amazing Nest. She has dominated the 3-year-old filly division, but now can she step up against her barn buddy, Malathot, and take the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff? 3 of the major stars that you'll see here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Keeneland Racecourse in Lexington, Kentucky, racing as it was meant to be, and a morning that will not be forgotten leading into the 2022 Breeders' Cup. 2 days of championship racing, Friday and Saturday. We are 1 week away from that second day and the much-anticipated showdown in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Flightline, let's just say, against the world. But we're going to see some of the competition taking him on this morning. Flightline has his critical last workout. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse. I'm Todd Trupp on our desk, just off the winner's circle here at Keeneland, and joining me is Christina Blacker. Okay, so last work, we're going to see last works for a lot of big horses today. How important are they?
This is so important today, and there is so much pressure on the exercise riders today. You talk about Flightline, talking about Life is Good. These are horses that are high energy. These are horses that they've worked to rate and to relax over the last couple of years in their training. You can do too much today. You can't overdo it. These horses are high energy. We heard from Todd Pletcher talking yesterday. He's going to split up and separate Malathot and Nest so they don't do too much. Life is Good is going to go later in the morning because we're expecting a crowd here at 7:30 when Flightline works. Again, not to do too much. A horse like Flightline, a horse like Life is Good, they do everything so easily and so effortlessly. It is very easy to go too fast and to leave your race on the track this morning. Ideal conditions this morning, much like yesterday, cooler temperatures, but the track is absolutely perfect, and everyone is in a good mood. Had a chance to talk with Todd Pletcher, walk into the grandstand, and it's been a great Keeneland fall meet for him. And really, with his stars, everything has gone right for that barn, and that's just what you want. We've got essentially one more week where everything just, you got to get a little bit of luck, but so far, preparation's going great. Well, and he's such a meticulous person in his preparations, right? But all those carefully laid plans, you never know. When it comes to racehorses, they can humble you real quick. They're like having a bunch of children. They can get themselves into trouble. But so far, so good for the Todd squad, as they say. Looking forward to what we'll see from them in their final works this morning. And then, as Bob Baffert says, you bubble wrap them until next weekend. We put Joaquin Jaime in bubble wrap, and he looks great. Good morning, Joaquin.
Hey, Todd and Christina, good morning to you guys. So when we look ahead to Future Stars Friday, there's a horse that's running in the Juvenile Turf Sprint who is an Iowa bred. He was purchased for only $34,000, but he's been perfect. He is undefeated, and he is a perfect 5 for 5. Tyler's Tribe, he has been a star in Iowa, and now he's looking to take his game to the major leagues right here at Keeneland Racecourse. And stay with us. Coming up later on in the show, we're going to tell you much more on the story on who this horse is named after, and that is going to be coming up later on in the morning. So much more on Tyler's Tribe, who's also scheduled to have a workout on the turf later on today at 10 a.m. right here at Keeneland Racecourse. Let's now head on over to Gabby Gaudet. Gabby, good morning.
Good morning, Joaquin, and thank you so much. I'm back here at the barn of Todd Pletcher, who's set to have a big morning this morning. Of course, Christina mentioning earlier today that we're going to be seeing the likes of Malathat, Nest, and Life is Good. Todd Pletcher worked these two in company last weekend, Malathat next to Nest. Now, he's going to change things up for today. Malathat is actually going to work in company with Old Point. She's going to be working a half mile at 7:30. Nest is going to go a little bit later in the day at 9 a.m. She will be working with a horse by the name of Inventing. And then Life is Good will be working solo, just to not do too much. This horse is really energetic in his gallops, really energetic in his workouts too, and they just want to get a maintenance drill for Life is Good. So he's going to be going out at 9 a.m. We'll have more from the Todd Pletcher camp in just a minute, but let's check in with Andy Beancone.
Gabby, of course, we've got the Todd squad locked and loaded for a lot of workers this morning, but I'm especially looking forward to Life is Good at 9 because this is going to be his final breeze ever. We will catch up with exercise rider and assistant trainer Amelia Green. She's been with this horse every step of the way, so of course there's a lot of pressure leading up to this morning, but it's also going to be very emotional. Also, of course, going to see Flightline. I've got mints in my pocket. Cinch and I are locked and loaded, and we are ready to start the day. Let's check in with Caton at Churchill.
Andy, a lot has already gone on. We're getting ready for the break here for renovations, and after that at 7:30, expecting to see Casa Creed with his Breeders' Cup tune-up. But every day starts like Groundhog Day with a team of Brad Cox workers prepping for the Breeders' Cup. CyberKnife was the first to hit the racetrack, and shortly after that, Lady Rocket put in her final Breeders' Cup tune-up. We're going to check in with Brad Cox and get more on those workouts, but before we do, an update on the exercise rider for CyberKnife, who was involved in a training mishap yesterday. She is in the hospital and had surgery. Katie Talbert was operated on for a fractured femur. They stabilized it with a rod, and she is resting and recovering nearby, and very sad to be missing all the excitement of Breeders' Cup and CyberKnife. But don't fear, she was actually up this morning asking for video of CyberKnife's workout. So she's still tuned in to all that's happening here, as we will be going forward, guys.
Caton, thank you for that update all the way around. We're actually going to stay on the 64 heading west and start at Churchill Downs in Louisville. As Caton said, it's already been a very busy morning there. And let's talk about CyberKnife preparing for the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
All our best to Katie Tolbert, too. I mean, just a key member of the family. I think when we heard from Brad Cox yesterday in the interview shortly after she was injured, you could tell he was emotional. This is a key member of the team here. So we're thinking about you there, Katie, and I know all the other exercise riders feel the same. So in her place, yesterday we had Edwin on CyberKnife. Not sure who jumped in the saddle for the work today, but here he is. And let's remember, he's, again, one of those horses that is high energy, one of those that they've really had to work with. He's always been very athletic. He's always been a horse that could kind of duck and dive and get in between horses when he's in a race scenario. And a horse like that can be that kind of squirrely is difficult to be aboard in the morning, but he's a pro here so far in this work. He's definitely sitting off the workmate as they wanted. They're giving him a target. This is normal for him in that very high head carriage, ears pinned. He's just an intense individual. This is what he does when he's in a race scenario. This is what he does in a work in the mornings as well. Now, you want to see him catch up to the workmate a little bit here, because you can see along the inside the workmate just kind of opening up his stride, and there we go, leaning down a little bit, signaling to CyberKnife it's okay to go ahead and do a little bit more. A nice fluid lead change, and he's going to keep pace on the gallop out. Remember, the horse to the outside does have to do a little bit more to keep up with that horse along the inside as you are turning. Nice work for CyberKnife, just letting him do a little bit in the late stages there. Much of the same from him, and that's a good thing.
CyberKnife, the son of Gun Runner. His signature win this year was in the TVG.com Haskell, but after that, he got beat pretty soundly in the Travers by Epicenter and then Taiba in the Pennsylvania Derby. Those two will be headed to the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, but CyberKnife looking to be a force in the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. One of the first championship races on Saturday will be the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and getting a look at one of the horses preparing for that moment here right now, taking a look at Lady Rocket.
Lady Rocket is coming off of one of her career best efforts over at Aqueduct. It's pretty clear when you look at her form, that is one of her favorite tracks. She's put up some triple-digit by her speed figures there a few times. Now, she was second to Kamari on that day after breaking from the rail, but I think you want to keep that in mind because now you have a horse and a mare here that's going to be running third off the layoff, and you, again, don't want to do too much. You want to make sure she can run through that number last time out, and she can come with another big performance because in the past, she needed a little time off of a race like that. She was a little tough as they began the work. You would expect that from a speed horse. You saw the rider have to kind of take a hold, and as they come around the turn, noticing the rider just a little bit higher in the saddle. That will try to keep this horse relaxed. He's actually a little further away from the workmate, and perhaps just trying, again, not to let her do too much in here. She's striding out nicely as they come down to the wire, and this is going to be, again, a nice maintenance work, minute and change for Lady Rocket over there at Churchill Downs. The workmates are really doing a great job of keeping pace, too. Here they go, pick it up as they hit the turn, run through the wire. Simon alluded to that a little bit yesterday and made the very nice analogy of you teach young kids, run through first base, run through the wire. You want to finish up well, and we saw that exactly from both CyberKnife and Lady Rocket today.
That analogy spoken like a softball mom. Let's talk. Kate and Bradar talking to the connections.
Another day, another Brad Cox interview or horse to talk about. Let's start with CyberKnife. Maintenance drill. How does this contrast to what we've seen in the past from workouts for CyberKnife?
Real good move. He's always been a good workhorse, but I thought he worked extremely well this morning outside of Forza de Oro, which is a good workhorse as well. So everything looked really good. Very happy with how he cooled out, got back to the barn, wasn't drinking much. Wasn't blowing hard or anything, so I like what we saw from him.
Right, let's talk a little about the decision. He's cross-entered for the Classic as well as the Dirt Mile. He hasn't run shorter than a mile and a 16th since he was a maiden. Is the fact that the race is at Keeneland, and is around 2 turns and runs closer to a mile and 70 part of what went into the decision to maybe make that the focal point?
I believe so. I think going 2-turn mile probably suits him a little bit better than a 1-turn mile, but we'll see. I think it gives him the best opportunity to win a race. Honestly, I mean, just obviously the Classic is obviously super deep, tough field. So I think right now it's the best decision in regards to getting him to the winner's circle.
Any concern about a lack of pace, or for him at least, coming out of those longer distance races like the Travers?
Maybe. I think the brake's very important. Sometimes he doesn't get away real fast. He gets away okay, just not quite as quick as you'd like. I think it's going to be important to be forwardly placed in this race. So I think the brake's going to have a lot to do with this performance.
Similarly, Lady Rocket putting in what appeared to be a maintenance move. What were you looking for, and what did you see?
She worked a minute. It was a good move, sitting outside of Girl with the Dream. Good move for both. I was happy with the way she looked. Her weight's great. Muscle tone's great. Super happy with her. And she's going to need some things to happen. I mean, it's going to be a wide open race probably. 7/8. Once again, she's one that needs a break, be involved. She didn't take dirt very well at Saratoga. Some horses don't take dirt up there very well in the Ballerina. That was a complete throw out. She rebounded, had a good effort in the Gallant Bloom against Kamari, and earned a figure I thought stacked up with this group. She's going to have to run against next weekend.
I know everyone's looking forward to Breeders' Cup, but you're in the midst of a heated trainer battle for leading honors at Keeneland. Big day yesterday with 2 victories and some real promising young horses. Is that something that you pay any attention to now with those trainers' races?
It's funny. I was driving to work this morning. I was thinking about trainers' titles in the past, and we've been in some battles with Steve throughout the years and some other trainers. And honestly, they're when they're over, it's like a relief whether you win or lose, because you go to the next town and really you don't get nothing for it but like a trophy. But it is nice to win them. But yeah, it's something you watch. I mean, it obviously Keeneland's a great meet. We've been fortunate to win a few of them over there, and it would be nice to add another one or just tie. I count ties, so I would take a tie. But we'll see. We've had a lot of seconds over there. I felt like and some close seconds and some grade 1s that I'm still kind of not really wanting to watch a replay on. But we're excited about today. Hopefully we can. I think we got 2 big shots in the Haggard Fayette, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, we wish you good luck there. Appreciate the time, and this won't be the last. We'll be talking to Brad, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just taking a look at the daily racing form today, he's got horses entered 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So he's going to finish strong here at the Keeneland Fall Meet. And speaking of strong, Cece, I think in some ways she's underappreciated. Certainly not by her connections, but the fact that Cece is back to try and win the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint again, I really love what she's done. She's also found the ability to win around 2 turns. She showed that at Oaklawn Park, taking the Grade 2 Azeri. But this is her game, sprinting. She was a minor upset winner last year against a horse that many people thought was invincible, Gamine. Instead, Cece was the one who dominated the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. This is yesterday at Santa Anita, going a half mile, Cece.
Feeling fresh out there at Santa Anita as well. One of the things I love is just looking at the management Michael McCarthy does with all of his horses. And Cece is a perfect example of that. Last year, she went to the Princess Rooney. That's the win in you're in. He secured her a spot in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. And then to this year, he's followed that exact same path from the Princess Rooney to the Ballerina to the Chillingsworth. A nice, easy race for her, frankly, last time out when she was a winner by 2 1/4 lengths. That's the kind of race you want coming in as she's going to try and defend her title. Now, she settles well in this work after kind of leaving from the pole a little bit tough for the rider. She's right there on the bridle in his hands. He's got a good tight hold. Jumps her lead a little bit, but I've seen her do that a few times in the past. She just kind of throws her weight pretty hard when she does go to switch. That's her. That's pretty normal. But you heard from Brad Cox talking about kind of muscle tone. Same for this filly, and this mare from Michael McCarthy's barn. Good and muscled out. She's the picture of health. The way you see Todd Pletcher's horses have that real shiny coat, that's really been transferred on to the care and the daily routine in Michael McCarthy's barn as well. She's shiny out there. She looks like she's doing well. And the rider is asking her for a strong gallop out. He gave her a few taps on the shoulder. Look, she's 5 years old now. She knows the drill. She knows when the work is over, and she just might be one of those that needs a little bit of encouragement to keep on going. Keeps pace. Nice, good time for her. Good final work for Cece yesterday.
Every other start she wins. What a remarkable record. 11 wins from 22 starts. She won the Eclipse Award as the champion female sprinter last year by virtue of that win in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and she will certainly win another Eclipse Award if she can defeat this field in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, part of the Saturday card, part of the Michael McCarthy barn out on the track yesterday at Santa Anita. Masterpiece, preparing for the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf.
Here's a much different individual. Now we're talking about a horse that's going to be going the marathon distance on the turf course here. But you'll notice he's a bigger, thicker type. The son of master craftsman. He's out of a Proud Citizen mare, so maybe that's where he gets a little bit of that kind of muscle tone and definition. Good hold from the rider. We are not permitted to work on the turf course at Santa Anita very often, so this is something that he's probably not used to. Gotta love the reach on this horse too. Look at him just throwing those front feet out there, taking big strides and just gobbling up the ground. He's outside the dogs. Those are the cones that they'll put out towards the middle of the course to go ahead and protect the inside portions of the course that are going to be competed on both yesterday and today. And now we're asking this horse for a pretty good work here. Running the turns very well, throwing a few crosses from the rider. Let's see the lead change. Another kind of jumping into his lead. You're going to have to kind of ask him to keep finishing up here. He looks like one of those horses that we call a bicycle. If you don't keep pedaling, he's not going to keep going. But a good work from a strongly built individual from Michael McCarthy's barn. Second most recently in the Del Mar Handicap. That was back over Labor Day weekend. And another strong gallop out here as they kind of tap him on the shoulder for a bit more.
Masterpiece, the Chilean bred, a homebred for Don Alberto Stable, preparing for the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf. Also yesterday at Santa Anita, Bob Baffert's trainees were busy. And how about $1 million if you have a 2-year-old that can sprint on the grass? Yes, part of Future Stars Friday is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. And taking a look at Speedboat Beach, who is all that and more. All he did in his career debut was set the track record for 5.5 furlongs on the dirt at Del Mar, and then backed it up with a win on the grass.
Yeah, and one of the highest 2-year-old Beyer speed figures that we had seen at that point, a 104 Beyer speed figure for that September 10th effort on the main track. Then they switched him to the turf course for the Speakeasy. true to his name, he's fast. This is a fast individual, and I think the surface switch was more about Bob Baffert knowing that he can be quick enough and handy enough to compete on the turf course. Now, we're on the training track here, so you can see we're inside of the turf course at Santa Anita. A lot of turf horses do work on the training track. This is not something that you see very often from Bob Baffert. He very rarely works horses on the training track. But because we are going to run on the turf course.
Can you hear Flightline in the background? Flightline getting ready to come out.
He's on his way. I just wonder, and this horse is going to be one of the favorites, and deservedly so. Look how handy he is kind of coming around the turn there. Did they put him on the turf course for the Speakeasy because they have all the other horses on the main track like Cave Rock and everybody else, and this is the way this horse is going to be successful because we know we have the powerhouse horses on the main track already?
That's how I read the tea leaves, and especially when you watch how those other horses you're talking about preparing for, say, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Let's talk about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and that leads us to Pax Awallop, and in company here is Pax Awallop, who is on the outside. Pax Awallop going for trainer Jeff Mullins. Easily distinguishable on the track, a gray or roan son of Creative Cause, who took the Zuma Beach last time out, a mile on the turf at Santa Anita, and then prior to that, the Grade 3 Del Mar Juvenile Turf. That's pretty much the biggest races for 2-year-olds out on the West Coast leading to the Breeders' Cup on the grass.
Yeah, this horse for Red Barons and Rancho Temescal, I'm impressed by him. He just keeps getting better. That race in the Zuma Beach, I mean, he looked like he could have won by 5-6 more lengths if he wanted to. They have a workmate with him here. They're asking for a bit more from Jeff Mullins' barn, and he has some nice acceleration towards the end of the work. Again, here's a young horse that probably hasn't had the chance to work on the turf course very often. Out there around the dogs, he's kind of curious, keeping his ears up, looking around, but also waiting for those cues from the rider. He easily could have gone faster. He easily could have done more in this work. That's a good work from a very quickly improving young son of Creative Cause.
Pax Awallop is 3 for 3 on the grass coming in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Mike Smith has been aboard for all 3 of those wins. And we did have Michelle Yu catching up with Mike afterwards. I'm going to say he was really pessimistic and in a bad mood, right?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Mike Smith was aboard Pax Awallop this morning. Mike, tell us a little bit about the work. Time-wise, it seemed to touch on the slow side.
Yeah, the game plan was to stay off behind our lead horse, but it was more of a maintenance work. He went ahead and did everything I wanted him to do. As a matter of fact, past the wire, I asked him to go ahead and go another 8th, just because we did go slow early, and he did it really nice, got a lot out of it, and he's just doing really well right now. I keep telling Jeff, I keep having to remind myself he's only 2, and I mean, he's just so professional, big, good-looking colt, really getting over the ground well, and it's a little wet today, too. They put a lot of water on it. I was kind of glad to see that, just in case we get a little rain over there.
Also, you mentioned that he's kind of professional. I feel like he still has a lot of room to grow. Do you see that he maybe still has leaps and bounds to take mentally?
Oh, without a doubt. Man, we ain't even come close to seeing the best of him yet.
What about today, going around the dogs and everything? What was his reaction like? Because, obviously in California, we don't work on the turf course a lot.
He kind of looked at the first one, and then after that, like I said, once you show him once, he's pretty good about everything. But after that, he was really fine. But what I love about him is, so far in his races, man, he's been really forward, but yet you can put him in behind a few if you need to. So just all depends on how the race sets up, but he's doing really well. I expect a big effort out of him.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
Mike Smith and Pax Awallop, guys.
Thank you, Michelle. A megawatt smile, and you always feel good when you've been hanging around Mike Smith. Optimistic about Pax Awallop and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Well, arriving here today at Keeneland, it was kind of difficult getting a parking spot. There's a lot of people out here this morning, Gabby Gaudet.
Yeah, Todd, we had a lot of early risers coming out here to watch Flightline in the flesh, and you can see just a couple of people lining the outside rail here, and we have a couple of really big fans as well. All right, we're going to talk to one of them. Good morning. What's your name?
Anna Purcell.
All right. Are you excited about Flightline?
I am super excited. I was fortunate and honored to see him at the Saratoga yearling sale, and he truly touched me. I was supposed to go home back to Florida yesterday. I stuck around. I just want to see and feel that horse again. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, really, for us to see that level of genius and brilliance. So I'm here for that, and I'm super excited to see him.
What time did you get up to come out here this morning?
5 o'clock. I'm here. I'm all for it. I'm heading back home to Florida right after he goes.
We love your passion. And speaking of Flightline, we'll check in now with Joaquin.
Hey, Gabby, thank you very much. We have Juan Leyva, the assistant trainer to John Sadler, who just got aboard Flightline. They have just left the barn. You can see Flightline just over my left shoulder. He's making his way up this long pathway here on Rice Road, and he's going to be stepping onto the track here up in the 7-8 chute. So Flightline getting set for his first local breeze here at Keeneland Racecourse. He's going to be going 5 furlongs. And I had a conversation with trainer John Sadler and what he's looking for and what the plan is going to be for Flightline today. You will hear that plan when we come back from a short time out here on FanDuel TV. Stay with us. The most exciting horse in training is having his final work for the Breeders' Cup Classic. It is coming up next year from Keeneland Racecourse on FanDuel TV.
When the thoroughbred world descends upon Lexington this November, there is one place you need to be. The place where history comes alive with every championship victory.
He's authentic indeed!
The place where the future is built with the fall of a gavel. The place that exists to be the heart of this industry. The center of it all. Home to the November breeding stock sale and 2022 Breeders' Cup. Keeneland.
Everyday wins make your day that much better. And now, you have a chance at free everyday wins when you play FanDuel Casino's Reward Machine, the new daily free-to-play game that offers you the chance to win up to $2,000 in casino bonus. So take a chance on more.
We're here in the back chute. We've got plenty of Breeders' Cup contenders waiting to go on the track, including Flightline. He's about 50 yards away from me right now. I don't want to lose connection of the mic if I go down that hill, but he is just looks so relaxed. I mean, sometimes these horses can get a little bit geared up when they're waiting for a work. They know they're about to breeze. They get excited, but he's just taking everything in as calm as can be. He knows he's working. He's a smart horse, but it's not fazing him at all. He's just looking super happy, ears pricked, looking at the track, watching the tractors go around. And that's really what smart horses do. They watch, they observe, they take in their surroundings, and he just looks fantastic. We'll be checking in with him as soon as he walks onto the track.
And Christina, obviously talking yesterday about his record, he did have the win outside of the state of California, a big one at that, in the Run Happy Met Mile. But as far as his preparations, he didn't have a work in New York prior to that. This will be the first time we've seen him have a time to work out outside of his home base of Southern California.
Yeah, and he's been here for several days. He did ship on the 23rd. That was the day after his most recent work back at Santa Anita. So he's had the opportunity to become somewhat familiar with the surroundings here. He's had a few gallops. He's been out, you know, for those good long walks. And as Andy said, the smart ones, they take it in. You heard Mark Smith say you show them something once, they do it properly the second time, and it just becomes part of the routine. So far, we're in the early stages of this new routine for Flightline in this new place.
Joaquin, what is the plan this morning for Flightline?
Well, Todd, the plan is he's going to work 5 furlongs here on the main track as you're getting a good live look here at Flightline, getting set for his first local breeze. 5 furlongs is going to be the plan today. It's been a quiet morning for Flightline so far, as you can imagine. He just walks about 40 minutes prior to his work to loosen up before he gets tacked up. So he's going to be working 5/8 from the 5/8 pole. So he's going to break off from the 5 furlong pole. He will finish his work at the finish line. I was at the barn earlier this morning. I asked trainer John Sadler, what do you want to see? What is your ideal final work for Flightline leading into the Breeders' Cup Classic? And he said, I just want him to cruise around there. I just want him to be in a nice rhythm. I said, as far as the time, what time are you looking to hit for 5/8? He said, about a minute and change. So we'll keep an eye on that, Todd. Just looking for Flightline to cruise around there, stay in a nice rhythm, and go in about a minute and change. And Todd, from a historical standpoint, I was looking at this the other day. Are we looking at the shortest price favorite in Breeders' Cup Classic history with Flightline? Easy goer. He is the shortest price favorite in Breeders' Cup Classic history for now. In 1989, he was 1-2. He was 50 cents on the dollar. Slew of Gold and Muggety, they were part of an entry in 1984. They were 60 cents on the dollar. Cigar at Woodbine, he was 65 cents on the dollar. The shortest price favorite ever in the history of the Breeders' Cup was Meadow Star for Leroy Jolly in 1990 when she won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She was 20 cents on the dollar and paid $2.40 to win. So, Todd, are we looking at the shortest price favorite in Breeders' Cup Classic history here? Flightline, good live look at him as he gets prepared for his final work heading in to the Breeders' Cup Classic here at Keeneland.
You brought up Easy Goer and his rivalry with Sunday Silence. It's hard to believe it was 33 years ago that Breeders' Cup Classic took place. I don't know whether to say Easy Goer broke my heart or Sunday Silence broke my heart, but I remember exactly where I was. I was a huge Easy Goer fan watching that Breeders' Cup Classic 33 years ago. Seems like yesterday. And we have a horse in a matchup in this year's Breeders' Cup Classic that could be remembered all time. And it says something. Remember, we're sitting here at 7:30 local time, and all these people have gathered. There's Billy Strauss right there of Hot Rod Charlie. He's in from California.
Out in the competition.
Yeah, with the glasses on. Going to be seeing you later tonight, Billy. We're going out for dinner. And they love how Hot Rod Charlie is training. But they know, even if their horse runs their best race, it most likely wouldn't be good enough to match Flightline if he runs his best race. But I just love the reverence for the competition. People are trying to beat Flightline, but they appreciate what they're trying to accomplish here.
You know, when we're in this game and participants in this game, you're fans of horses. You're a fan of horse racing. And so for that reason, you can appreciate and you can really admire the brilliance of a horse like Flightline. And it just makes me think back to the Breeders' Cup Classic when Zenyatta won, and that euphoric moment for any one of us that were lucky enough to be there on site. Even people who had horses in that race, you couldn't help but enjoy her victory and feel that collective joy of everyone in the stadium cheering for the same horse. I think we might have that type of moment again, and that's a really exciting thing. I think everybody who's going to be in person here on Saturday to watch Flightline, of course, if you have a horse in the race, you want to win it, but you want to see the brilliance. You want to say, I was there. You want to be one of those people that was there when American Pharoah won the Triple Crown and remembers how that made you feel, that moment in sports. Any other sporting event, if you're watching the World Series last night, you're cheering for one team or the other. There's always a divide. In horse racing, there's a way for everybody to be on board for the same horse, even when you lose.
In Flightline, everyone is on board for watching him. He is must-view TV whenever he's on the screen, and we've been fortunate here at FanDuel TV to cover his entire career. When no one knew who Flightline was, we were there with that brilliant maiden win, but that was back on April 21st. Here we are now, just 5 starts later, and he's on the precipice of showing the world that he is the best horse in the world. Gabby?
Todd, I'm here with Terry Finley and Mr. Bill Farish, and first of all, how cool is it to be part of a horse that attracts a crowd like this? First thing in the morning.
I think it's pretty cool. I really do. I turned the corner, I saw the crowd, and I just say it's very cool.
What did you think of this, all these people coming out today to see Flightline?
I thought there might be a pretty good crowd. I didn't think it'd be this big. I knew when 4 of my kids and my wife popped out of bed at 5:30 that something special was about to happen.
What are the vibes from the camp? I mean, I think I speak for all of horse racing that we're really excited to see him in the Breeders' Cup Classic. But what is it like to be involved in a horse like this?
Yeah. Well, I think we all kind of look at each other, and I think we all trade the vibes. Like, I can't believe we're in this position. I think we're all blessed, and I speak for the industry as well. I think at our core, we're all fans, so I think that makes it unbelievably cool, and just a neat experience so far. And I still have a week to go, but everybody's pumped, everybody's excited, and there's a lot of good energy around this horse and around the team.
A lot of good energy, for sure. I'll ask you one more question. What makes this horse so special in your mind? You've been around Hall of Fame horses. What makes him so special in your mind?
Well, I think just the way he does things, Gabby. He's just, from the day he first stepped on the track, at Mayberry's, and then as soon as John got him in California, they've just said this horse breathes different air. He just he's shown that in his races, the way he wins by so much. I mean, you can go back and look at so many great horses, and they consistently win, but they don't do it consistently by these margins. And so we're pinching ourselves. We feel incredibly lucky, and we all keep saying we're not worthy, but it's incredibly fun, and needless to say, it seems like everybody's rooting for him. I'm sure there's some owners of the competition that wouldn't agree with that, but it's been an unbelievable ride.
It has been an unbelievable ride. Thank you guys so much. We'll let you enjoy the work. Todd?
Christina, it's what we do. We get ahead of ourselves. But when I listen to the unbelievable ride, there's so much talk about, will there be a campaign next year? When I listen to all the stakeholders here, they're leaders in our industry, and I'm starting to feel like they know there's an obligation for horse racing to have a horse like this and to showcase him maybe for another year. We only got 3 starts. His first campaign, we're going to get 3 starts this year. We'd like to see him a little bit more, and I'm hoping that that's where they're leaning.
And back to your point that you brought up yesterday about the mainstream sports public being probably more familiar with Rich Strike, the horse that won the Kentucky Derby. That's the race that if, the mainstream sports fans are going to tune in for one race a year, it's the Kentucky Derby. I think to that point, we owe it to those fans to show him Flightline, to put him on display. And it's when you get on these win streaks that you gain the fans, that you gain the followers, because no matter what type of sport you are a fan of or dedicated to, you appreciate perfection. You appreciate any athlete that is unbeaten. You can have the respect and you can want to follow that record.
Flightline out on the track right now here on FanDuel TV. Make every moment more. And so many fans have done that by coming out here, setting their alarms, getting much earlier than they probably wanted to. They got up, but it is going to be worth the moment. And one of the special aspects of Keeneland Racecourse is the fact that you can get up close to the athletes. And on this morning, many are getting closer to Flightline than they ever thought. And he is about to go 5 furlongs, his last major workout before the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. You're seeing it here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse. So John Sadler is in the grandstand, and he's trying to point out exactly where Flightline is. And the sun hasn't quite come up yet, but when we showed his last work in California, we showed Juan Leyva with the lights on the helmet so we could easily identify him. But actually, we got a good view of him here this morning, even better than we saw in California.
Yeah, he has that light on once more again today. And that's all Flightline was, as dark as it was in California for the last 2 works, was that flash of light. You saw Jane Lyon of Summer Wind Farm to the right of John Sadler a few moments ago. She bred Flightline. She stayed in for a piece of him. You saw Stephanie Hironis, Costa Hironis here as well, keeping their eyes on him this morning. I mean, I feel nervous. He's not my horse. And here we are watching. There's just so much anticipation for this moment. And for Juan Leyva, what a responsibility. He is a Breeders' Cup winning jockey himself. He has been the regular pilot of this horse each and every day. But right now in this moment, of course, you're thinking about how grandiose it is, but you have to just trust your body, trust the clock in your head, trust what you know from this horse, and go out there and do what you've been doing for the last few years.
With the flashing lights, it is like a 787 Dreamliner about to take off, and Flightline is doing that. I'm keeping an eye on John Sadler in the grandstand, his trainer, and he's more animated during this workout than he may be during the race itself, as he has started his stopwatch. And it's almost as if we're rooting Flightline on, but here he comes around the turn and then down the stretch here at historic Keeneland Racecourse, the most exciting horse in thoroughbred racing, Flightline, taking off with his beautiful action. Christina, although they're going 5 furlongs, do you think this horse is obviously going to finish up even more past the wire?
Yes, I think they'll let him have a big gallop out today. He does that in just about every one of his works, and it's just much of the same. He came off that work, you know, really on the bit, on the bridle. Juan Leyva let him out just a little notch coming around the turn, and now he's just going to let him coast on down to the wire. He's so effortless in the way he moves. Open up that stride, just lean down a little bit. You can hear the fans almost cheering as he breezes over our shoulder. Let's see the lead change as he's going to come into the turn and just let him get with a good gallop out. It's so smooth, you almost don't notice it. I love the way this horse carries himself. Some horses are a little bit heavier in the way they carry themselves, a little heavier in their mouth. They might kind of let the rider hold their weight a bit. He just holds himself in each and every stride. We're still kind of letting him open up this gallop out here. I mean, this is another good, strong work. Keep in mind, coming into today, he had 3 consecutive 6-furlong drills. Now the 5-furlong, just sharpener to finish up. He kind of jumped back into the bridle when he passed another horse there for a moment. Still fresh, still feeling good. Perfectly executed from Juan Leyva. No traffic trouble. Remember all the drama with Latruska last year? I mean, it's every one of these little things. Keep an eye not only on what you're doing with your horse, but you're playing defense with every other horse on the racetrack right now to keep him perfectly happy and in that great stride.
Well, they'll have the official clocking in just a moment, but we know John Sadler has been clocking Flightline. Gabby Gaudet is right there. I'll be curious to see what he got on his watch and his impressions here, but certainly us as outsiders watching it, it looks like Flightline,
30 seconds
all
and that's it.
systems go. Let's go to Gabby Gaudet.
Just pull it up. This is breaking news.
Breaking news. John, what did you think of that?
Look good. We had him in, I told Juan, a minute and change, 26 and change. Just nice and easy, and he looked very comfortable. Wasn't going hard.
In terms of the gallop out and everything, what did you want to see today?
Just a nice rhythm. We're not in any trying to do anything special. You know, just a routine work for him, kind of pre-race.
All right, I promise 30 seconds. We'll let you go, John. Thank you very much, Todd.
Oh, the interview requests are just going to keep getting more and more and more. John Sadler, look, a longtime trainer. He's obviously had some very good horses, but this is a generational horse. Truly, I think once in a lifetime gets thrown around too much.
Yeah.
But it applies here. Yeah.
Not in this case. John has been so accommodating with his time, and he wants to share this horse with people.
Yes.
He's been sharing, as much information as he can. He's been great with everybody, but you have to think he's just breathing a sigh of relief now, right? Those were the sort of final touches. You got to check him again tomorrow, of course. Each and every morning, he's the first horse you want to check on. You don't want to see anything on your phone when you turn it on, when that alarm goes off in the morning from the night watchman or whoever's been with him overnight, but job well done from the entire team, and they can hopefully breathe a sigh of relief as the final touches have been put on the best horse in the world.
And we still have big horses ahead. The Todd Pletcher barn going to have Life is Good out here this morning. We're also going to see Malathaat. We're also going to see Nest. So a lot of these fans are going to be sticking around, and it's certainly worth it. Out on the track near all the action, Andy Biancone.
Hey, Todd, we're here with the John Sadler team. Juan, tell me your final thoughts on that work.
I think it was just what we wanted. We went a minute and change, just well within himself. He got over the track really well, and just what we wanted. Just something easy for him.
Did he ever come off the bridle for you?
No, he was actually really good. You know, he was strong, but not run off, so I was happy with that.
What's going to be next following the next couple days? Is jogging, galloping, keeping him fresh?
Well, obviously he'll walk tomorrow. We'll jog him the next day, and then we'll gallop him the week of.
Thank you so much, Juan. Great job, guys.
Still love that scar he has on the back end there. You can see it. It's very prominent. If you're here at the Breeders' Cup, you're down in the paddock before the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Believe me, it is very prominent, and it just kind of adds to his mystique. It happened when he was younger in a paddock accident, and we are so fortunate that he has made it to the races and accomplished what he has accomplished to date. But this would be the biggest win of his career, obviously, in this championship moment on Saturday. The highlight to 14 championship races. It is the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic and Flightline. Okay, back to other divisions. Malathot has to beat her stablemate in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. That is Nest. And we did have a little over a week ago where Todd Pletcher had Nest and Malathot working together. And then in talking to him yesterday, if you followed us on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, he said, not going to do that this time around.
Yeah, so she's still in company here, and Malathot is on the outside of this teamwork. But remember, last week she was on the inside of Nest, and I thought last week's work was brilliant. And she really took a hold in that work last week, gave a lot in the mornings, a really forward type of filly, this daughter of Curlin. This is going to be a much easier drill. It's exactly what we saw from the Todd Pletcher colts yesterday, the juveniles. Just a nice, easy, open gallop, a little bit, of a work here. The rider really high in the stirrups, and she's just galloping. I mean, this is just a big open gallop for her, just kind of the easiest type of work. You'll see the pacemaker and the workmate on the inside just kind of push her a little bit, take a bit of a hold, but Malathot responds well, keeps her nose in front just about each and every step of the workout there. A flawless lead change once more. A good gallop out will run right through the turn as they do for Todd Pletcher. It's like a machine, right? The way that everything happens in his barn, just to perfection. The work riders, the exercise riders doing exactly what they are supposed to do. And they continue with a good gallop out, actually, all the way around the turn with Malathot here. Remember, she's got plenty of stamina. Curlin out of the AP Indy Mare, dreaming of Julia off that big win in the Spinster. She is 3 for 3 here at Keeneland, and perhaps her biggest competition is her stablemate Nest, but another great work. I thought last week she was a little bit stronger, but that's what you wanted. The work two back, you want to see more, you want to see a little bit more energy. That's what they were asking for. This week they're asking for the nice, easy maintenance work right into the race.
Malathot knows what it's like to be at the top of the 3-year-old filly division. She won the Kentucky Oaks in her 3-year-old season. She's also never lost here at Keeneland, 3 for 3. That could factor in as well. Jack Christopher going for trainer Chad Brown. Get a chance to see Jack Christopher. A lot of talk about where ultimately Jack Christopher should end up. Most assumed that it was going to be the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, but instead it is going to be the Breeders' Cup Sprint. This is moments ago, Jack Christopher.
Yeah, we saw him a little bit yesterday as well with that gallop, and he's definitely one of those, as we've kind of touched on, that the faster he goes, the better he looks, Jack Christopher. He's coming off the win in the Allen Jerkins, and you can't miss him, the big white face, the son of Munnings. He gives a lot of his horses that mark. Comes off the turn well, and I love seeing that from a sprinter. I love seeing a sprinter that gets a little bit more intense around the turn, because that's really when they start to wind up, and he did that in this work. Switches leads well, he's focused, he's listening to the rider, he's straight down the middle of the lane, really no problem at all for Jack Christopher here. Nice final work for Chad Brown.
And around one turn, Jack Christopher is undefeated. He had the 3rd place finish in the TVG.com Haskell, around 2 turns going a mile and an eighth, but in all one-turn races, sitting at 5 for 5, and now getting a chance in the Cutter Racing Breeders' Cup Sprint. All of this information that you're gathering here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, you can turn into money by joining FanDuel Racing. New players can bet the Breeders' Cup with a $100 no-sweat first win bet on FanDuel Racing. That's $100 back if you don't win your first single horse win bet. Scan the QR code or visit racing.fanduel.com for more details. FanDuel, the official wagering partner of the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint is one of the most lucrative races over the 2 championship days of racing, and Casa Creed is headed there. He works over at Churchill Downs, and you will see it when we return on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Looking to give your handicapping game a sharper focus? RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. Customized PPs, summary and individual research, handicapping angles and back testing, true odds predictive analysis, and pace projection. With innovative analytics powered by data from Equibase, it will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level. RaceLens, bringing clarity to handicapping. Learn more at equibase.com/racelens.
With 5 champions, 70-plus stakes winners, there is arguably no better proven stallion value than Sky Mesa. Among his leading progeny is Grade 1 Spinaway Stakes winner, Perfect Alibi.
Perfect Alibi runs it hard.
Sky Mesa has a higher percentage of black-type horses to starters than More Than Ready, Malibu Moon, Kitten's Joy, Hard Spun, Candy Ride, and Street Sense.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger.
Snake Neck Spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won.
It's getting really tight. The star of the season, Roaring Lion.
The purple cap. Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. Feel them in line. Mongostina has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
We're soliciting your opinions about the Breeders' Cup on social media. Checking in. Sharp as Attack had one thing to convey to his rivals. That's pretty clever. Chain of Love arrived at Keeneland last night for the Filly and Mare Sprint. It was a long drive. Great job by Kate Hunter. She really helps recruit those Japanese horses. A breakthrough year last year. Lava Man in the Sunrise. Enjoy this because I don't think this has gotten enough play. Lava Man's career at the racetrack going to be done. Oh, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but he's going to Old Friends.
He will be spoiled for the rest of his years, as he already has been. Such a special horse that we've had the chance to see. Is that Andy?
Yeah, that is great work, and we love the pony horses. I've learned so much about the great pony horses, and we thank everyone who's helped us out with getting Andy Biancone out on the track and in the action. And there's Flightline in the afternoon. We saw him here in the morning, and this is a live look at Flightline returning to the barn.
Well, you love to see that, too. Look at the energy. Look, he's just full of himself. Coming off of work that we all saw just a few moments ago. What an effort in the morning. Final touches again on Flightline, but you like to see him go back with that little pep in his step. The work certainly didn't take anything out of him. You didn't do too much, which again was the kind of one concern and danger for today. Brilliant job once more from Juan Leiva. And I love seeing the affection he's been giving the horse,
Yes.
too. A lot of pats, a lot of love, a lot of adoration from the rider. And they're so connected, those two.
Flightline, knowing that he did something good, he's going to be rewarded for that, but he's got something great ahead, the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's look at another division. We are very proud here at FanDuel TV to be the exclusive spot where you can watch the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. In fact, the first 2 Breeders' Cup Championship races on Saturday, you will only see on FanDuel TV. And here's a look at one of the horses getting ready for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. This is Casa Creed earlier today over at Churchill Downs. We followed this horse very closely. We know Lee Einsiedler is a great friend to racing, great friend to TVG. He's given a lot to the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. Hope all that comes back to him here in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. But it's been a dilemma with this horse. Casa Creed, back-to-back wins in the Jaipur, going 7 furlongs. And then he also got a big win going a mile in the Grade 1 4-Star Dave. So what is his best distance? They decided not to come back at a mile on the turf in the Breeders' Cup, but instead turn back to the 5.5 furlongs here in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
He's right in between,
yes.
Isn't he? And
like down the hill at
such
Santa
a hard
Anita next year.
horse to place because of that.
Yep.
But he's so talented, and he's also just such a refined individual, too. I mean, he's just a beautiful horse to look at out there in any form, whether he's galloping, whether he's jogging, whether he's working. Love the way he's hitting the ground. You can see that little turfy action, and he's settled now for the rider. Kind of had his mouth open there, really grabbed that bit and was hanging a bit in the early stages. He's strong, but as you are going to cut him back in distance, I think that's a good thing. You want a horse to be sharp if you are going to be cutting them back in distance, and he's going to have those sprinters to run down. Settled in well to this work. He's along the inside. He's taking pressure. That's always the more difficult position to be in when you're in a company work, along the inside versus the outside in terms of pressure applied from the workmate. Easily outdoes his workmate, which I'm sure is what they expected here today, and a good final work for Casa Creed.
It's been quite a year for Casa Creed. He traveled overseas to Saudi Arabia and then to the United Arab Emirates, came back to the United States, defended his title in the Grade 1 Jaipur, then that win around 2 turns in the Grade 1 4-Star Dave. It would be quite something if he pulled off the win in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, really bolstering his resume overall, and it's really good. $1.7 million lifetime earner, son of Jimmy Creed. Jackie's Warrior will be sprinting, but on the main track, and it was last year that Aloha West pulled off the upset. Can Jackie's Warrior come back and make amends as the favorite this year?
The Breeders' Cup is the only event that hasn't been kind to him, Jackie's Warrior. I mean, this is, difficult because he's a horse that is so brilliant, but the Breeders' Cup has been his undoing in his 2 attempts at the Breeders' Cup. 6th in the sprint last year. There was a lot of talk of whether or not he would get the 2 turns when he was a juvenile. He's definitely a sprinter. We know that now, and he's just such a well put together horse. I had a chance to take a look at him schooling yesterday. I got very lucky in that when I was walking around the paddock, that happened to be when he was schooling. I mean, he is just muscle on muscle. He's so well balanced. He's so strong the way he's put together, and just kind of a little bit of an easy gallop. He's going to come back down to the jog here right now for Steve Asmussen. I've noticed over the last couple years, just listening to interviews from Steve Asmussen, how focused he is on a horse's mental frame of mind and how much he trains not only the physical nature of his horses, but he trains them mentally. And he's not always one that's he's always looking down the line. He's always looking towards the campaign. And I think maybe in years past it was more about what's next, what's right now. He has these horses that he's cultivated these brilliant campaigns for, and Jackie's Warrior is one of them. The durability that we've seen, he's 12 for 17 lifetime, and he just seems to be getting better and better. His speed figures are improving again this time of year, which is exactly what you want to see from him coming into the Breeders' Cup.
I think one of the best modern sprinters we have seen is Matoli, so Steve Asmussen knows what a great sprinter is. Jackie's Warrior has to break through in the Breeders' Cup Sprint if he even wants to be mentioned with a horse like Matoli, but he is expected to be the favorite in the sprint. Jackie's Warrior out on the track here at Keeneland. We'll be back with more stars from Thoroughbred Racing here in Lexington, Kentucky on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
Audible let loose on the outside to take the lead. Audible by 3. Audible, no doubt about it.
Internet, 575,000. Thank you.
PC, 675,000. Oh my, 725.
What we're seeing from Audible across the board are very athletic shapes, strong hips, and powerful bodies that look like they have speed, which is really what you want to see from a freshman stallion.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at TVG.com. Find selections in either the Promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at TVG.com.
Time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
But it's authentic in front. He won the Derby. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's authentic indeed.
In 2020, Authentic punctuated his Horse of the Year campaign with a dominant victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. This year, the World Championships return to the heart of horse country, and the biggest names in the sport have assembled at Keeneland Racecourse. Who will rise to the occasion and emerge as this year's definitive star? FanDuel TV brings you all the action as the competitors and their connections make their final preparations for the biggest weekend of the year. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
And welcome to the city of Lexington, Kentucky. Main Street and Broadway come together with many of the great restaurants down there. And just across the street, you will find Rupp Arena, where the Cats play, and a lot of good concerts there. And as you walk around Lexington, you start to see the cultural aspects with many great murals around. There is so much to see and do in this city, and a lot of people gravitate towards Thoroughbred Park and take pictures with those horses that are there. I hope you will make the trip here to one of my favorite cities in the country, Lexington, Kentucky. And aside from all the things to see and do, it's the people and the interactions you have that will keep you coming back. So many good people here in the Commonwealth. We thank them for welcoming us here every spring and every fall as FanDuel TV comes here to cover Keeneland Racecourse. Welcome back. I'm Todd Trupp alongside Christina Blacker. We just got started on this show, but there are still big horses to come with Life is Good and Nest coming out.
Yeah, definitely looking forward, especially to Life is Good. We know that he's a high-energy type horse. He's going a little bit later this morning. Maybe the crowd has kind of thinned out a little bit now that Flightline's gone back to the barn, so you should have a quiet track for Life is Good about 9 o'clock.
Awake at midnight. That would describe Christina Blacker. She found out there's a pretty good nightlife in Lexington. Not that she was attending.
No, I was trying to sleep.
Outside her hotel room
Plenty
window.
of people having fun out there.
Awake at Midnight is also the name of a horse that will be going in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff, and this is much, much earlier today here at Keeneland.
Yeah, she's the second horse here. Has a target for this work from the Doug O'Neill barn. Daughter of Nyquist. She's just 3 years old. She does seem to be improving, but she's yet to win a graded stakes race. She was second in the Grade 2 Zenyatta, going the mile and a 16th last time out. To me, Todd, on paper, you can see she just has some catching up to do with the sort of heavy hitters of this division. But all of that being said, Doug O'Neill has certainly surprised at a price in the past in the Breeders' Cup. Merrifield would be a name that comes to mind. Nice work for her here. She catches the workmate pretty easily. We're a little late on this lead change. Let's see if the rider ever really pushes her for it. Hasn't quite switched and hasn't really forced her to do so. You want to see a horse practice the way they are going to play. To me, you want to really ask a horse for those lead changes because that's how they need to shift their weight in a race scenario to get their best. Eventually she does. Let's see if we're going to go back to the left lead now for the turn. Not my favorite work that we've seen so far, but again, you're fit, you're ready. I would have liked to see the rider maybe push her a little bit more for that lead change on time. Awake
at midnight. She's yet to win a graded stakes race, so this would be a shocking upset if she were to win the Grade 1 Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. Daughter Nyquist out of the Union Rags mare Midnight Union, bred by 40 Oaks here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Looking to a much different division here. This is Vegas Magic, a daughter of Good Magic, who will go in the Juvenile fillies.
Also from the Doug O'Neill barn, she's yet to go 2 turns to this point, but as I mentioned yesterday on the show, from those numbers and the statistics that we're seeing from Good Magic, a lot of his horses really move up in a big way around 2 turns. So you're banking on that with her. She won her first 3 starts, including the Grade 2 Sorrento. She was a lackluster 4th in the Del Mar Debutante last time out, and I looked at the Thorograph numbers, Todd, last night in this division. The Southern California numbers just aren't coming back as strong as we're seeing out here on the East Coast, especially here at Keeneland. So I think all of the SoCal fillies have a little bit of catching up to do if they're going to keep up with some of the East Coasters. But this is an okay drill from her, again, with a target, with a workmate. She's on the outside, still in the bridle, going easily for Doug O'Neill here. But we're going to have to get to the bottom of her, and I'm sure they have in the last few works because, again, you are asking for more. You're asking for more distance coming up to this race. She's not as long as you would expect for a horse. She's a little bit more compact in her build from what we're seeing, but she does show a nice little bit of acceleration at the end of the work there, so a good strong gallop out for her here.
Vegas Magic, owned by Omar Aldabaugh, Todd Cady, and Ty Leatherman. And I have the feeling with that name, Vegas Magic, and Omar Aldabaugh involved, there are some good stories behind that. Let's find out more from the rider of Vegas Magic with Gabby Gaudet.
Up here in the grandstand with Jackie Jose Ortiz. And Jose, you said you worked Vegas Magic a little bit earlier today. What did you do, and what did you think of the work?
Yeah, we went 5-8. She set off another horse and, just passed it in the stretch. And I think she went fast and she worked very good. I was very happy with the work. I get to know her a little bit better. I've never been on her, so it was good.
How important is that for Breeders' Cup weekend or really any day to be able to get on the back of the horse in the morning and figure them out a little bit?
When you got the opportunity to get back on them, it's you get more familiar with the horse and it's a lot better. I was very happy that Doug asked me to come out and work her today.
You're up here. Did you happen to catch the Flightline work at all?
I did. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, he looked amazing. Yeah, beautiful stride. Rider was just cruising.
It's kind of funny to see riders and competitors watch different horses that are competing in the Breeders' Cup. Do you come out here and kind of assess the competition sometimes?
Yeah, I try to look at every horse, but they all look amazing. This is good horses. They're classy and they all working. They're working very good.
What's it like to kind of the lead up for the Breeders' Cup? I mean, I know you've been here before. It's not your first rodeo, but just to be able, it's kind of the end of the year. It culminates at the Breeders' Cup, and to be able to come back pretty much every year.
It's amazing. It's just happy to get the opportunities I get, and I think I have a very good lineup for this year, so hopefully we get some.
Jose, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Well, Christina, that's not to be overlooked. While the fans are coming out here to see their favorite equine athletes, the jockeys are pretty good too, and the stars of our sport.
Yeah, did you see the way that Jose perked up when he started to talk about Flightline too? It's not his horse either, but that's the appreciation for a good horse and being out and being able to take a look at what he was able to do a little while ago. So great that he got to know Vegas Magic, especially with a young filly. You want to know if they have any quirks. You want to know if they have that nervous energy. You want to know what they're like, not only physically, physically, but mentally as you're approaching a race in a scenario that's going to be very different for her. This is going to be a crowd that she's not used to. This is not something that for the 2-year-olds you've been able to rehearse or school for. This is the biggest stage she'll be on.
The NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies, part of Future Stars Friday, the emphasis on 2-year-olds, 5 championship races on Friday at the Breeders' Cup. We're here in Lexington, Kentucky, but we're very pleased to have out in Arcadia, California, with the sun yet to rise, still about an hour and a half away, Michelle Yu. Hey, Michelle.
Good morning, Todd. Over here at the barn of trainer Bob Baffert, he's going to be sending out most of his contingent today for their final paces. So every single break that we have here will have a Baffert worker that will be able to bring you guys. So really looking forward to that. And Taiba will kick off the action as he points towards the Breeders' Cup Classic. In addition, we are also going to be having the barn of Phil Diamato work in preparation for all of their turf starts. They will be working on the training track here. So we're looking for that around 7:15 West Coast time. Also, if they haven't brought them to you yet, we've got some great works from yesterday still to come for you guys. And, of course, we're going to be walking around, checking in on the horses that we can and seeing what everybody's packed and if they might need to put something special in their suitcases. Meanwhile, if there's anybody you guys want to see at home, shoot a tweet over so we can go track them down, find them, and maybe give them a nice little boop on the nose, Todd.
That's the real metaverse. That's truly interactive. She'll go find for you. I'm sure a lot of people would be sending in Flightline if they had their request here at Keeneland. And this is one of the time-honored traditions in our sport, showing a horse getting a bath.
Where's Jay Privman when we need to?
Yeah.
He loves a bath shot, right? That's
you,
always the joke on Twitter, and I'm sure that Barbara Livingston will be over there getting the perfect bath shot with Flightline. You know, it's cold. It's chilly, so we'll see what they do. They might just sponge him down here, too. You got to keep that in mind when it's this cold, what they're going to decide to do, and just to kind of keep him fresh, keep him happy, keep his temperature regulated. Of course, he would have worked up a little bit of heat as he was out there for his breeze, but he never got lathered up. He never really got very hot this morning as it's chilly, and these circumstances a little different from what he's used to out there on the West Coast. You can see his security detail there as well in the background. All of the Breeders' Cup horses will have security. There's so many different checks and balances in line right now. So many logs that are kept. The surveillance cameras are there. We heard from Dr. Stuart Brown yesterday. And especially with a horse like this, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if they had hired maybe their own security as well, just to kind of keep a double and a triple check and another set of eyes on Flightline.
Joaquin, you were there when he went to the track. You're now there as he arrives back at the barn.
Yeah, Todd, I'm here along with about 50 other people back at John Sadler's barn as Flightline is just getting a bath over my left shoulder. But another historical context I was thinking about the other day, Todd, with Flightline, if he wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, that is going to be his third start in what would be a Horse of the Year campaign. He won the Met Mile, he won the TVG Pacific Classic, and then he would win the Breeders' Cup Classic, and then he would be named Horse of the Year. So that got me thinking, what is the least amount of starts in a Horse of the Year campaign? So I started digging through at least the Breeders' Cup era, 1984 to 2021. There's quite a few horses that have 6 starts, horses like Bricks and Mortar, Justify, Gunrunner, Wise Dan, Zenyatta, St. Liam, all those horses had 6 starts in their Horse of the Year campaign. Back in 2006, Invasor, he had 5 starts in the U.S., but only, or 5 starts total, 4 of them were in the U.S. But the closest thing you're going to find, Todd, is Go Sapper, who maybe a lot of people are comparing this horse to Go Sapper for Bobby Frankel in 2004. He was a perfect 4 for 4 in his Horse of the Year campaign back in 2004. So, Todd, this would be something that we have never seen before, a Horse of the Year campaign with 3 races for a horse that is based in the U.S. As you get a good look here of Flightline getting this bath back here at Keeneland Racecourse on Rice Road.
And Christina, it's fun to watch how the team works so efficiently, everyone knowing their role, and they've done this hundreds of times, obviously, with all the horses in the barn, but being able to watch this process is very insightful.
And he's a good horse. He gets, maybe a little bit crabby here and there, but he's standing there quietly. He's, enjoying his bath. Maybe not so much once you get to the face and in between the ears. Some horses get a little funny when you start to try and wash their faces. They don't want water, splashed right in their eyes, just like any of us were when you were young and someone was giving you a bath. How about some of the others out there keeping an eye on, hey, guys,
Hey,
what's going on?
This is for the Pletcher barn. Open them up. Open them up.
Nice to see every member of the team. And Michelle showed us a little bit yesterday back at Michael McCarthy's barn as they were preparing to ship, packing everything. This is something that, of course, you can buy certain products, anywhere from the tack shop locally here. But when you're talking about a horse like this and when you're used to the same routine, the same type of soap, the same brushes, you want to bring all of that stuff. You want to have all of his equipment. You want to have all of his people. You want to have his team. He's like a rock star. He's going on the road. You load up the van and you bring everything that he could possibly need for the next week to 10 days just to make sure that you've dotted all your I's and crossed all of your T's.
I can already see what's going to be a great Barbara Livingston shot, the steam rising off of
Sun in the
Flightline.
background.
Yeah, sun in the
Here it
background.
comes.
Barbara, can't wait to see your work from what has been a beautiful morning here at Keeneland once again. 2 championship days of racing ahead, Friday, November 4th, Saturday, November 5th. And the biggest star of all is the horse you're looking at here right now in Flightline. His workout going according to plan, 5 furlongs and everything going back to the barn the same as well. And as we pan around here, get to see a little bit more of the media that is focused and is looking at Flightline. And then there is the crowd that just showed up, fans who showed up here for the morning workouts to see the biggest star of the morning. But we do have big horses ahead. Life is Good is going to come out on the racetrack. We're also going to see, and Michelle, you pointing this out at Santa Anita, Taiba, one of the horses will be taking on Flightline in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Towards the end of our show, we'll see his live workout out in California. And so it is safe to say, obviously, that it is the deepest field to date that Flightline has faced. Anybody who wants to take him on is welcome. And there are those who have obviously taken on the challenge.
That's why they call it horse racing, right? You got to be in it to win it, and anything can happen out there, as we've seen with very heavy favorites in the past. I was thinking a little bit about the Distaff last year, and I know that Latruska wasn't the kind of favorite that we're talking about with Flightline. But coming into a race like that, there were some really highly regarded fillies and mares. And then we had a suicidal pace, and the whole race collapsed. I think for anybody else in the Breeders' Cup Classic this year, that's kind of what you're banking on, right? You're hoping that Life is Good is just going to go out there and burn and take it to him, and maybe that Flightline engages. That's your opportunity if you're a horse like Taiba or one of the others that wants to try and run those two down.
So in talking about those scenarios, because the connections of Life is Good have made it clear his past performances, make it clear he's going to the lead. Flightline's going to try and relax off of him, but what if they do all of a sudden take off? Is post position a big thing this year in the Classic? It's not a huge field, but we got the post draw on Monday. Is it a big deal as it relates to these two main horses, Flightline and Life is Good?
Well, if you're Flavien Prat, you want to be outside of Life is Good because it's just going to be that much easier to get him to rate and relax. If Flightline draws the rail, for example, that's going to be a difficult position. You don't want to get in a switch. You don't want to end up behind Life is Good and with other horses boxed to your outside, because he's clearly going to have a target on his back. Everybody's going to be riding their own horse, but they're also going to be riding against Flavien and Flightline.
And I know, Michelle, you have seen Flightline out in California. And have you been impressed with what you've seen this morning?
Always impressed with Flightline. He's a consummate professional, and really, it took the Pacific Classic to turn me into a true super horse believer. But Todd, he made me one of those as well. So actually right now we're going to talk about horsetails. I'm standing here with Comanche Country. She's actually going to go out and do her work in just a little bit. But you'll notice she is a horse of two colors. Niall Dalton, who bought this filly from Ireland, where she got her pre-training as well as her first races, told me one of the things that stuck out to him was just how great she was mentally. And you heard Jess yesterday, if you watched our show, talk about how she acts like she's not a quote-unquote good horse. She's just really calm and does a lot of things for you. So she loved her attitude as well. But there are some things that Comanche Country does not like. She's not a girly girl. She does not like her hair done, and she does not like her nails done. As you can see, she's tried to get a body clip here, and this is as far as she would let them body clip her. The rest, she said, no thank you, my friend. Also coming up this way, she's got a line just about here. If you move forward of it, you see she puts her ears back a tiny bit. She doesn't like that either. And they've told me around the barn that when she goes to get her feet done, her bones turn to liquid, so she just pretty much lays down on poor old West Champaign, the farrier. So while she is a beast on the racetrack, she needs a couple of mimosas to get her haircuts finished.
Michelle, I know you love the champs, and so do I. So I'll sign me up for the mimosas as well. Back here at Keeneland, we got a few horses out on the track, but still waiting for the bigger names to come out, and you will see them here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse. More coming up on FanDuel TV right after this.
On FanDuel Casino, we make it easy to turn your site credit into real money. Unlike other casinos who make you wager your site credit over and over before you can withdraw it, we play fair. Just play through it once and you keep what you win. Turning all your site credit into real cash is that simple. Plus, you'll get paid your way, quickly and securely. Come see why FanDuel Casino promotions give you so much more than other online casinos. Join FanDuel Casino and play it again with up to $1,000 back if you're down on your first day.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at TVG.com. Find selections in either the promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at TVG.com.
This is a Kentucky thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built powerfoil industrial fan. Like a thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
Chase the day with Day Chaser Cocktails, the official ready-to-drink canned cocktail of Breeders' Cup.
Three quarters up in 113. Life is good. Challenged here on the outside by Law Professor. Life is good. Now getting away again. Life is good is in front by 2. Law Professor made a run at him. Is now 2 lengths behind. Life is good, the leader, with a 16th to the finish. And Life is good is going to win this Woodward. Life is good by a length and a half at the end. Life is good and a Rod Ortiz Jr. Law Professor was second, and a big break back to Keep Me in Mind in third.
Life is Good has had a very good year. Here, stateside in the United States, he's been fine. It was the Dubai World Cup where he really didn't take to the track. Hey, Christina, how are you? Welcome back. Good burritos you made this morning as well. Was fourth in the Dubai World Cup, and he really didn't take to the track. Then there was the effort last time out in the Woodward where he was the favorite, 5 cents on the dollar. Wasn't overly impressive, but his connections are confident you're going to see the best of Life is Good in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic as he takes on Flightline. And the best news is you're going to see his last major workout here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. That is going to be coming up at 9 o'clock, so at the top of the hour here, local Life is Good will be coming out onto the track for his last major work before the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Gabby?
does it feel to be a jockey?
Good.
Did you win the race? Yeah. Did you win the race?
Yeah.
Or what about you? It was a three-way dead heat. Thank you guys. So cute. Oh my gosh.
Well, we should point out, a number of people came out to see the stars of the Breeders' Cup work, but you can come out on Saturday mornings out here at Keeneland. They have the spring meet, they have the fall meet. It's the last day of the fall meet, and so a lot of these activities are set up. There's some equicizers down here as well.
Hot coffee and cocoa right over there.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm going to be taking a break soon. Grab that.
Run over there. I think they're giving away breakfast sandwiches again, too.
Love me a good breakfast sandwich. Nice biscuit with some chicken in there as well. Definitely come out to Keeneland at some point. If you are a fan of horse racing, you should be here at least in the spring or in the fall. Come and visit Keeneland Racecourse. Promise you will not be disappointed. If not, you got the next best thing. Watching us here on FanDuel TV, playing through FanDuel Racing, playing through TVG.com, playing through the TVG app, and a reminder about what we do leading up to the Breeders' Cup. This is just part of the preparation for you, and a reminder to download FanDuel Plus. Just pick your favorite platform, Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Mike Joyce looks very surprised there. But yes, download FanDuel Plus and get yourself ready for the Breeders' Cup. They better be ready for Golden Pal in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Wesley Ward is very confident coming in, and from everything we've seen from Golden Pal's preparations, he should be. We'll talk more about your favorite for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint when we return on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.
DeMarchelier offers breeders a rare opportunity as the only son of Dubawi standing in Kentucky. Dubawi, one of the world's most celebrated stallions, is now a sire of sires. His top sons at stud are making a name for themselves across the globe. With a picture-perfect pedigree, this son of Dubawi brings one of the world's most potent bloodlines to America. DeMarchelier, standing at Claiborne Farm.
This is a Kentucky thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built powerfoil industrial fan. Like a thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger. Snake Neck Spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won.
It's getting really tight. The star of the season, Roaring Lion.
The purple cap. Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. Three of them in line. Mongostina has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road. Maximum Security proves he's the real deal with a gate-to-wire win in the Florida Derby.
Champion 3-year-old.
Maximum Security has won the TVG.com Haskell Invitational.
11 triple-digit buyers.
Maximum Security. He smoked them in the Cigar Mile.
Grade 1 winning 4-year-old.
Maximum Security takes them all the way in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Secure your mare's future maximum security.
They're into the stretch, and they gotta get Golden Pal. Golden Pal now set down by Ortiz. Lieutenant Dan trying to make a race of it in second. Emiratian is third to the inside, but it is Golden Pal. Golden Pal, wire to wire in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Lieutenant Dan was second. Charmaine's Mia got third.
Outside of Lieutenant Dan, he really ran them off their feet last year, did Golden Pal in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. He was also winner of the Juvenile Turf Sprint in his 2-year-old season. He looks to join a very illustrious group of horses who have won 3 Breeders' Cup events. Here's a bit more on Golden Pal.
They're into the stretch, and they gotta get Golden Pal. Golden Pal now set down by Ortiz. Lieutenant Dan trying to make a race of it in second. Emiratian is third to the inside, but it is Golden Pal. Golden Pal, wire to wire in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
I'm so closely attached to this horse. I love him so much, and to have him really come through in front of, on our biggest stage, in the Breeders' Cup, was great.
I saw an interesting picture on social media, him training. He wasn't wearing shoes. He paddock schooled. He wasn't wearing shoes. Is that something normal for him?
Yeah, he's trained his whole life without shoes. And we put him on, like, what I say is I either go 5 days or five hours out when I shoe him. But a lot of my horses don't train with, in fact, most of my horses don't train with shoes. But he's just doing great.
Off in the Woodford, presented by FanDuel. Golden Pal, Gear Jockey come out together, and Golden Pal slides down toward the rail and has the lead by a length. 21.25 seconds for the opening quarter. Golden Pal, the leader. Midway on the final turn, Golden Pal leads it by a length. Golden Pal leading Gear Jockey, leads it by 3 lengths. And then Artima City Limits is third. Charcoal is fourth down toward the inside. Bad Beat Brian next toward the outside. They're all behind Golden Pal. Golden Pal a 3-length lead, final 16th. Golden Pal in front. Late charge Artima City Limits. Golden Pal wins it.
I ride another win in the Woodford in record-breaking fashion. Can you just tell me what it feels like to ride a horse like this?
He's an amazing horse. He's just a fast horse. He came out good today out of there, and he showed how fast he is. He just keep going. He's a true champion.
Beautiful ride. Congratulations.
He deserves all the credit.
I thought he ran great. It was perfect conditions for him, and he went into the race and out of the race the same. He's ready to go. I've always said this in a lot of interviews. He'd be like Tom Brady or Brett Favre, right at the height of their game. He's just real confident about himself. Every time he comes onto the track or into the paddock when he runs, he knows what he's here for, and he's very focused. Peppermints. Loves peppermints.
Golden Pal, so fast away from the gate. I love taking a look at the jockey cam footage there. You don't often see that in a turf sprint where a horse comes out of the gate and you don't see any others to their left and right. That's part of what makes him so brilliant. He is so fast from the starting gate, hits that first point of call each and every time, and that has amounted to a perfect record here at Keeneland. He looks to continue that in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Let's take a look at his work from yesterday. It was here on the turf course. If you look through his form, you do notice that Wesley Ward works him on the turf course pretty often, even up at Saratoga. He was on the grass there for his works. He had one main track work here back in August, but outside of that, always on the grass. So this is what he is used to. Very curious right now, ears forward, taking a look, and just look at the size and the power of this horse. I mean, this exercise rider looks like he or she is a little bit on the smaller side, but boy, does Golden Pal look big and strong and like an absolute beast out there. Strong bit in his mouth as well, just to kind of keep control. You can see he's a turf sprinter. These horses are high energy. It's often about holding them, throttling them down, keeping them from doing too much. As we come into the turn, he gets just a little bit kinder there. Still going around the dogs, still a nice, big, open stride. Ears flicking back and forth. We talk about the ears so often. It's just really an indicator of where the horse's focus is. If they're flicking those ears back and forth, they're listening to the rider. He can do more. He has that right ear kind of listening back. Does this rider want me to do more? Do they not? No, we're taking a good hold, and we're just getting a nice, easy move over the turf course here for Golden Pal. 16-2. He's got some good size to him for a turf sprinter. All that muscle on muscle. The powerhouse undefeated here at Keeneland at 4-for-4. The son of Uncle Mo, out of that brilliant sprinting mare herself, Lady Shipman. Wesley Ward with the finishing touches on the horse he calls the best he has ever trained.
I was talking to some local horse players who follow this circuit year-round and obviously are here at the Keeneland meet, and they said this turf course is as good a shape as it's been in, and it's perfect timing, especially with all the demands that are coming up, getting ready here for the Breeders' Cup. We also have another horse to look at here in the turf sprint, and that is Bran. Lest you think that John Sadler just has Flightline to be concerned about, well, he's got Bran going in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, a winner last time out of the Turf Sprint over at Kentucky Downs.
And that's a very demanding course. I think, you know, if you're a winner at 6 furlongs there at Kentucky Downs, it's sort of akin to going a little bit further with any of the distances. Now we are sharpening up a little bit for the Turf Sprint here at Keeneland, so he does need to really put those running shoes on to keep up with horses like Golden Pal, who we just saw. A different kind of way of moving here, but also just some beautiful action. His head a little bit lower, reaching a little bit more, just skipping over the turf course here. This is a great work for Brandt, who also goes for Hronis Racing. And I think, Todd, it's nice for the connections to have another horse, of course, because you want to be in the Breeders' Cup, but also to take the edge off a little bit that day. If you have to sit there and wait all the way until 6 p.m. for the Breeders' Cup Classic, the nerves just build when you have another horse to focus on, to keep your mind busy, to be working on. For Juan Leyva, who's in the saddle there also, this helps. This helps you stay in that routine by keeping busy and just, you know, keeping your mind busy most of all.
This going back to yesterday, Bran preparing for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, completing the half mile in 48-4. And as Christina was talking about and told us yesterday, you see the dogs out there, so working out way out in the middle of the course. The Juvenile Turf Sprint, Love Reigns, scheduled to go in there. So much money now for the youngsters. Future Stars Friday is going to start this Breeders' Cup on Friday, November 4th, with 5 championship races. And as we were talking about earlier, $1 million if you have a 2-year-old sprinter on the grass. That's the purse being offered here in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint.
This filly was the winner of the Bolton Landing at Saratoga back in late August. That was a big win for her. She was challenged in the early stages. She kind of backed off her competition, circled them, and then it only took a few taps on the shoulder for Myra Ortiz to ask her to finish up. It was an easy victory by 2.5 lengths, but she has not run since then. So not really that traditional kind of final prep that you would see. So we're coming in off of works, we're coming in off of training here. And Wesley Ward, we know how good he is getting horses ready at first asking. Those skills lend themselves well to coming off a little bit of a freshening. You want a fresh horse when you're talking about sprinters. And with a filly like this who's a little bit more forward, you don't want to do too much and kind of squeeze the lemon dry too soon. She's outside the dogs. She hasn't switched leads here. She's a little lost right now in this work, and the rider hasn't really forced her to switch leads either. I'm a little bit more forgiving with that when we are outside the dogs on the turf course, just because they are right out there in the middle of the course and they might not have wanted to do too much. Ideally, you want to see the lead change, you want to see a stronger finish, but it looked to me like he didn't really ask her to do that much more.
Daughter of U.S. Navy flag, owned by Stone Street Stables, Love Reigns, preparing here yesterday over the turf course at Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Let's check in with Gabby Gaudet.
Todd, you're actually looking at my mom, affectionately known as Mama G right now, and she said, quote, "I'm going to kill you." So Hi, Mom. Wave to the camera. But I'm back here in the tack room to talk a little bit about equipment. So it's a big breeze day for some of these horses going to the Breeders' Cup. And there's a difference in everyday equipment versus workday equipment and race day equipment. So we'll show you both of those options here. So this is everyday equipment. This is a yoke, which goes, of course, over the neck. This goes between their front legs. And then you also have a set of rings. This is used to just try to just give you a little bit more leverage, more control. And this is just a typical D-bit as well. So this is what you might see horses train in every day. And they might also train in these big, white, fluffy bandages. I mean, they can come in any type of color. But big, white, fleece, fluffy bandages. Say that 5 times fast. Over here, on a work day or a race day, you'll probably see different equipment. There's no yoke, no rings. That obstructs their movement. They might have a neck strap, though. This just goes over the neck. There's nothing in between their front legs. This is a set of blinkers, big green G on it. And then this is also a cage bit, so a different bit that they might use on work day or on race day. And then finally, and the difference in bandages as well. You might see this vet wrap. It's really elastic-y, and it really stretches, and sometimes we put tape on top of the vet wrap just to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. And, of course, you have the girth and the channel that goes underneath of the girth so that it doesn't rub. And, of course, last but not least, on race day, Joaquin, don't forget to hang your sign. What's up, Joaquin?
They got to know who you are, Gabby. You got to hang the sign. You're looking at a sign right now with the letter A. That stands for Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen. And we are back at the barn right now looking at the Steve Asmussen team that is going to be participating in the Breeders' Cup this year at Keeneland Racecourse on November 4th and November 5th. So let's go ahead and meet the team you have in the Filly Mare Sprint. This is Wicked Halo. She's sharp right now. She's won 4 consecutive races. She won the Prioress 2 starts back. She won the Raven Run in her most recent start. Grade 1 winner, Gnight. He won, or is going to be running in the Dirt Mile. He just won the Perryville the other day. Grade 1 winner, Society. She got her Grade 1 win in the Cotillion Stakes. Multiple Grade 1 winner, Clairiere in the Distaff. You got the baby, the 2-year-old filly, Grand Love. She's going to be in the Juvenile Fillies. Eclipse Award winner, Echo Zulu. She won the Juvenile Fillies last year. She'll be in the Filly Mare Sprint this year. Jackie's Warrior, he was defeated as the post-time favorite in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year. Remember, he came out of that race with the knee chip, had surgery. He's had another solid campaign this year for Jackie's Warrior, who will be in the Sprint. And then their 3-year-old in the Classic, that is Epicenter. He's been the most consistent 3-year-old this year of the crop. He's had 7 starts, 4 victories, 3 seconds. He's banked over $2.8 million. Now, if it seems like you have not seen too many Steve Asmussen horses working on Friday and today on Saturday, it's because you haven't. They have not had too many workers for the Breeders' Cup over the past 2 days. So the Asmussen barn is going to be very busy tomorrow, Michelle Yu. You're going to see a lot of the Steve Asmussen runners that are going to be competing in the Breeders' Cup breezing tomorrow here at Keeneland Racecourse, including Epicenter. Michelle, Steve Asmussen told me that Epicenter, he's going to be working in the 2nd set tomorrow. So look for Epicenter before the show. Should be working about 6 a.m. right here at Keeneland Racecourse, Michelle, preparing for the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Thanks, Joaquin. I'm whispering because I'm a glutton for punishment, and everybody said they liked it when they saw Michael McCarthy yell at me. So we're sneaking up on Michael McCarthy. You guys saw his horse Masterpiece work yesterday. Let's see what he thought about the work. Oh, good morning, Michael. So fun to find you here. I was just wondering if you might tell me what you thought about Masterpiece's work yesterday.
Thought he worked well. I caught him 59-4. The official clockers caught him a little bit faster than that. Not sure where that came from. The horse is full of energy. Was certainly on his toes yesterday afternoon.
The dogs were up, so that is a very fast time. We don't have a lot of times to compare to because we don't work on the grass in Southern California. But were you expecting a fast work like that?
I thought he would work good. He'd been touting himself in the morning here. He's been on his toes as of late. Obviously, trying to get him ramped up for a big day and put in a big work.
Did he just walk by? Is he going to train today?
He is going to train.
Is that a normal procedure for him?
Normal here.
Normal here. So the day after work, we're going back to do what?
Jog.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael, for your time. You are our fan favorite on there. Do you want to tell me something mean?
All good. Have a good day.
All right, guys. Michael McCarthy had masterpiece work yesterday. He's about to go out for a jog right now.
We look forward to having Michael McCarthy out here. Michelle Yu will be joining us as well. She'll be making the ship out here, and Michael McCarthy, obviously,
he
the big
loves
star
being
for him.
bothered.
He does.
He
I know.
put on a grumpy face, but he loves it.
It's my favorite. that droll sense of humor. It's fantastic and sneaks up on people as well. Life is Good is not sneaking up on anybody. Life is Good getting ready to leave the barn of trainer Todd Pletcher, finishing our renovation breakout here, and Life is Good will be out on the track here momentarily.
And to Andy's bringing it up earlier this morning, I thought it was very poignant that this will be kind of an emotional day for the team, especially for Amelia Green, who's been such a big part of his success and been on him in the mornings, and one of the riders that really kind of got him out of some of those bad habits that he got into in the early stages of his career, where he always was cocking his head a little bit. He was veering out into the middle of the racetrack. She's worked with him day in, day out, and to come into this last work before Breeders' Cup Classic, an emotional day for her for sure.
Yeah, and Life is Good. He will be at WinStar Farm bolstering their stallion roster. We thank WinStar Farm for sponsoring Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup along with Keeneland. If you were not with us for the first portion of our show, then you missed one of the most pivotal moments leading to the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. It was the final work for Flightline.
It was brilliant this morning. Much of the same what we saw from Flightline. You know, he does have that a little bit higher knee action than you'll see from some of the other dirt horses, but this is just part of his brilliance, part of the way he carries himself and just how effortless he is. Juan Leyva doing a great job, too, hitting the mark in terms of time. We heard John Sadler tell Joaquin that he wanted a minute and change. That's exactly what they got for the 5 furlongs. He let him out a little bit of a notch on the turn here just to kind of pick it up a little bit. And you want to keep that in mind here at Keeneland. And he's used to Southern California. He's used to California, a tighter track in general, and that's what you have here. But you need to be able to run the turns to be competitive. You need to have that athleticism in a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic, and to be able to probably make multiple moves when you're considering that all of the other riders are going to be riding against you because you have a target on your back. Lets him open up his stride here as they come to the wire, leans down, just kind of shakes the reins a few times. There's that burst that you want to see from Flightline. A flawless lead change. Again, he'll shut it down just a little bit and coming into the gallop out, but then Juan kind of reminds him with a few more kind of taps to let's keep it going. We're going to be going the mile and a quarter. We want to continue up with a strong work here today.
And you can see the traffic out on the track is typical in the mornings, but everyone's staying out of the way here. And that was something that you alluded to last year, which was a big story on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Latruska getting unexpected company during work. Not happening here at Keeneland with the biggest star of the 2 days, Flightline. Absolutely perfect move earlier this morning and returned to John Sadler's barn in great shape as well. So Flightline is ready. Are you? We certainly know that many people are anticipating what Flightline is going to do in the Breeders' Cup Classic. But before that, there is another obstacle for a lot of these horses, and that is drawing the right post position. You will see the post position draw here on FanDuel TV. That's coming up on Halloween this Monday, October 31st. They're taking it to Rupp Arena. We'll have the draw for all 14 championship races, 5 of them on Friday, and then 9 of them on Saturday. And that coverage of the post position draw brought to you by Root and Riddle Equine Hospital. Back out in California, Masterpiece getting ready. The Michael McCarthy barn, kind enough to open up their operations to us so we can bring a coverage here to you on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We'll be back with more from around the country after this.
Precocity. Strategic speed. Some speed at 2, but can carry it on through their later careers.
Improbable, full of run. Improbable, now a Grade 1 winner.
It is a complete runaway, an authoritative run.
It's Improbable to win the Whitney.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at TVG.com. Find selections in either the promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at TVG.com.
Unified, a 3-time graded stakes winner by leading sire Candy Ride, defeating multiple Grade 1 winner Mind Your Biscuits in the Gulfstream Park Sprint, and second in the Grade 1 Carter by a nose. With multiple stakes winners in his first crop, including Roger McQueen and Unified Report. Unified, a proven winner on the track, a proven stallion in the making.
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
They're into the stretch, and it's Life is Good. Off the turn with a 2.5-length lead. Ginobili full out in second. On the inside, 8 Rings is third. They're coming past the 16th pole. It's Life is Good. And this colt is incredible. Life is Good. Won it by 6 lengths over Ginobili.
Larry Colmus, the voice of the Breeders' Cup and obviously the Triple Crown. He was also the voice of Life is Good in the very first start of Life is Good's career. That was at Del Mar, and it really kind of set him up for the rest of his career. As Larry Colmus said, Life is Good, very, very good. And we will see Life is Good coming out for his final workout before the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. That's happening here live on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Earlier, we brought you Casa Creed training over at Churchill Downs, working a half-mile in company, preparing for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. The final time for this half-mile move, we can tell you, was 47.4. Casa Creed, a winner of the Jaipur earlier this year. He defended his title. You don't often see that in that particular race. Took the Jaipur the previous year at Belmont Park sprinting, and then did it again this year going 6 furlongs. But added to that, a win in the 2-turn Grade 1 4-star Dave in this workout earlier this morning. It was rider Welser Cardona aboard.
He was pretty strong to begin the work, as you saw, and really kind of engaged once the company comes up to his outside. This horse is hot-blooded. He's a competitor out there. He knows that he's being asked to work. He knows that he's being asked to do a little bit more, as this is the final work before the Breeders' Cup. And they are, again, cutting him back in distance, sharpening him up. You want him to be aggressive. You want him to come off the turn like that and come with a big work. And also keep in mind, here's a turf horse working on the main track. We talk a lot about how kind the Churchill surface can be to turf horses. He's really getting over this course beautifully. Looks great. The picture of health for Hall of Famer Bill Mott, which is exactly what you would expect. Good little acceleration there, the high knee action that you see. Nice good lead change and a strong gallop out. Excellent final work for Casa Creed today.
Horse racing has always been a game with outsized personalities, but in that game, Lee Einsiedler has managed to stand out, and he is part of the partnership that owns Casa Creed, along with his son Jeffrey and a good friend of his, sports talk legend Mike Francesa. If you've never met Lee Einsiedler, I feel sorry for you, but we're about to change that.
I'm Lee Einsiedler from Flushing, Queens, New York. When the Yankees played the Cardinals in the 1964 World Series, my dad's had $100 on the St. Louis Cardinals, and if they won, he was going to buy us a pony. And the Cardinals won, and sure enough, he bought us a pony. And that was where I got my first taste of horses and horse racing. I grew up working in my pop's liquor store, and as time went on, I got into the importing business, and I've been so fortunate to have a lot of success. We built a product at Sidney Frank called Jägermeister, and then along the way, a group of us in the company had an idea, and the idea became Grey Goose Vodka.
So how often do you get the question, what is George Clooney like?
Probably every day. Probably every day. three amazing guys, Randy Gerber, George Clooney, and Mike Melman, wanted to start a tequila company. They came to see me, and we started Casamigos Tequila. They're brilliant, they're fun, they're terrific to hang out with. George had told me when he was a kid growing up in Augusta, Kentucky, he walked hots at Keeneland. So they're all into the races, and just having a business relationship has become a very special friendship amongst all of us. For me, horse racing is the ultimate great escape from all the trials and tribulations of life. Tragically, Aaron passed away 2 years ago along with his wife. That was and continues to be a heartbreaking situation every day in our lives. But if there's a silver lining in that dark cloud, perhaps it's brought Jeffrey and I closer together. He's become a great handicapper. He loves the game, and we have a really special relationship. My buddy Mike Francesa and I have Casa Creed. I was promoting Grey Goose Vodka on his radio show back in 1997, and that business relationship became a personal friendship when he found out that I had a love of horse racing, and I found out that he had a love of horse racing, and it just morphed from there. Casa Creed is the epitome of a friendly horse. He's just great to be around. You wouldn't know that he's a Grade 1 winning horse. He's more like a pet when you're around him. But when the afternoon comes around and it's time to run, he's shown that he's really, really special and a horse owner's dream come true.
Lee, his son Jeffrey, and Mike Francesa will be here at the Breeders' Cup for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint as Casa Creed. In fact, that will be a race that you will see here on FanDuel TV and part of Championship Saturday.
All the ladies want to know, is George coming? I mean, come on.
So I asked Lee about George. By the way, there's a horse out in California called Clooney that ran the other day. He sent that piece that we just showed you there to George, and George was like, excellent. I had a chance to meet him, as you saw in the picture, and that story about George Clooney walking hots here at Keeneland, he remembers how much he made an hour. He said it was like $6,
I love that.
50 cents an hour. And he said, I was always careful when I went by the sales pavilion when it was sales time. Didn't want to raise my hand too suddenly. Well, now he could afford some
celebrities.
horses
They're
over
just
here.
like us, right? We all walk in there with your hands down, too.
We also mentioned Welser Cardona was aboard Casa Creed for that workout over at Churchill Downs. Kate and Bradar are able to catch up with him after.
Welser Cardona was aboard Casa Creed for that workout. Tell me first what Casa Creed is like to ride.
Oh, he's a very nice horse. It was good that I had the opportunity to race him today. Penny gets on him most of the time, and he went pretty good. He's a nice boy, very comfortable to get to him, you know. It was very nice to get to a pole and everything.
You started out first, or a little ahead of your workmate. Was that the plan? And what were you trying to accomplish?
Yes, that was the boss told me. Get ahead a little bit. And so when Joe, my coworker, was going to join me with the quarter pole and get together and pass the wire together. And, yeah, he was very good.
Well, so tell me a little about your history with Bill Mott. How long have you worked for him, and how long have you been getting on horses?
I started walking horses. That was 10 years ago. I started walking. I walked for 2 years, and then I became a groom for 1 year, and then I became an exercise rider. So I have 5 years galloping for him.
And was it always your goal or dream to be able to be an exercise rider and to be getting on horses?
Yes, it was a very big dream, and my biggest dream was galloping for him. Yeah, I always wanted to be an exercise rider for Bill Mott. It was my dream.
All right, if the dream has come true, what is that like for you? What is it like to work for the Hall of Famer?
Oh, it's very good. I'm pretty sure a lot of riders will like to gallop for him. You know, he's a very, very good horseman and very class and everything. He's very nice to work for him. You know.
And I'm just curious: is it more stressful now, or is it more exciting that you have the Breeders' Cup coming up?
It's exciting. It's very exciting, yeah. I'm sure everybody, every trainer, everybody wait for this races, you know, for these big races, yeah.
It's always good to talk to you, and we appreciate your time and wish you good luck with Casa Creed. Hopefully the dream continues.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
And the boss, Bill Mott, up in Saratoga. He'll be coming back to the Commonwealth very soon. You could see Welser Cardona talking with reverence about Bill Mott. So many people feel that way in his presence. When I'm around him, I become a kid again and just want to listen. And he is one of the best horsemen we've ever had in the United States. Also, listening to Welser's path, it's not a formal education that you get in horse racing, but there is a path that leads to where you want to go in horse racing. It's been that way for over 100 years.
And it's so important, as with any industry, to kind of start from the ground up, isn't it? Because then you really understand what everybody's doing in their collective roles as you're all contributing to trying to help that horse. As an exercise rider now, he appreciates what the groom does to prepare the horse for him. He appreciates what the hot walker does. Even as we heard from Flightline, walking for 45 minutes to warm up, walking to cool out. He knows how important each and every step of the process is, and I'm sure that also helps with the collective team environment.
Waiting for Life is Good to come out onto the track for his final workout before the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. That's here in Kentucky. Let's see what's going on out at Santa Anita in California with Michelle Yu.
Thanks, Todd. Well, we are waiting for Taiba to put in his work, and that should be in about 30 minutes or so. So while we're waiting, I thought I would just meander around the Baffert barn, and look what I found. They're beginning to pack. I got to say, looking at this, I feel a little bit better about what I have packed to bring to Keeneland, because I thought I brought a lot. But when I look at this and they told me this is just the beginning, I'm feeling better. So what happens when you go is there's nothing for you. There's literally an empty stall at Keeneland. They even told us you have to bring screw eyes. So these little things that all of the stall guards connect to, you've got to bring all of those for each stall. So you're looking at 8 for here, 3 for feed tubs, 2 for water buckets for every horse that you're going to bring in. Got to bring some extras too, right? Just digging through this box, we have tape. This tape is for wrapping bandages. You've got electrical tape, because you never know when you're going to need electrical tape. A spare bit. Every horse is going to be bringing at least 2 bridles, a bridle for galloping and then a race day bridle. You've got to have extra chamois. This is what goes on underneath the saddle to help it from moving around. Got to have some electrical plugs, because you never know if you need to plug in your oat heater or something. There might not be a plug for you. This particular tub that we're in has plenty of blinkers. I count at least 10 sets in here, so for sure nothing's gonna be missing a blinker. And lots of wraps. So all these trunks chock full of things. Horses leaving tonight from Santa Anita, guys. The van leaves at 2, which means they're going to start to load at midnight to head to the Commonwealth.
I mean, it's always an environment in motion. Something is going on almost every hour on the backside.
Someone's always traveling. They're always coming and going. And these are some anxious moments, because shipping, as Simon mentioned yesterday, can be something that you have to really be very prepared for. You have to make sure that the horse is very hydrated as they're shipping. You want to have all that equipment ready for them. You don't want to show up and have any of those screw eyes, as Michelle said, missing. Then how are you going to tie the horse into the stall? How are you going to make sure that they're safe? Everything has to be done according to plan, and you have to be well prepared.
Okay, we've been waiting and anticipating. So too has trainer Todd Pletcher. That's a live look as he is watching Life is Good turn in his last major work before taking on Flightline in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Okay, so we've seen Flightline be a more relaxed horse in the mornings, and we heard from Todd Pletcher yesterday. He wanted to bring Life is Good out by himself so we wouldn't get him too worked up and going off here. How would you describe Life is Good as a workhorse overall?
Yeah, I think overall he's still a pretty intense horse. He's still kind of that coiled spring that you're always trying to keep all 4 feet on the ground. I think if I remember correctly, Amelia Green had a nickname for him. She called him Scooter, because he sometimes scoots away from you really quickly and he scoots into his gallops. He just feels good. He's just fresh. He carries his head high. Again, very, very intense. But right now, he's being really well behaved. This is exactly what you want to see. He came out there. He didn't jump into that, canter. He's very well controlled. He's not fighting Amelia at all. She's just keeping a close eye. Who's in front of me? Who's behind me? He's listening to her. You see that left ear perk up. Is it time to go yet? He's waiting for her to signal that they can begin this work.
So Life is Good about to take off here. Is it fair to compare? I mean, this is a fantastic time in that on the same day at the same racetrack, the final workouts for the two main contenders in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic take place. Is it fair to compare the work from Flightline earlier with what we're seeing now with Life is Good?
Well, it is, but you have to keep them in mind as individuals. I mean, look how tough this horse is. She's doing a brilliant job, but this horse is hard to handle. She has a good, strong hold. Look at the kind of L, the lock in Amelia's elbows as she's holding. You want to hold strong enough, but you don't want to fight him either. And you also want to press your hands down into his neck. There's no way she's stronger than him. But if you leverage your hands, the cross you have in your reins against their neck, they're pulling against themselves a little bit. And so that helps you maintain control. I think you're going to end up with a faster time from this horse just because he's so fast and just because he does everything this way. But so far, so good. He's never gotten away from her. He's been tough. He's been strong. But she has been well in control of Life is Good throughout this work.
And there is trainer Todd Pletcher on his watch, also in communication on the radio and going through the splits and then watching intently past the wire here. So many of these works, yeah, the official time is done, but really the crucial part is that moment after the finish line, that extra 220 yards they might go.
And you can see him on the radio, too, over her right hip. That black walkie-talkie is right there on her hip. So he's communicating to her. Not only does Amelia Green have a good clock in her head, she rode races herself, too. So she knows how fast they're going, and she knows this horse. But he's looking at the watch, and he's telling her throughout the work, okay, let him go. Okay, pick it up. Okay, I want more of a gallop out. He's watching the splits precisely on his watch and communicating that information and those instructions to her as she's out on the horse.
And Life is Good. Am I having the right impression that he did more well past the wire than, say, maybe Flightline did, or did they kind of finish everything up in the same spot?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think you know, there were a couple strides where Flightline started to shut it down before Juan Leiva kind of asked him to finish up a little bit more in his gallop out today. Whereas this horse, by nature of his personality, he's not going to shut it down until you pull and tell him to shut it down. He would rip around here 3 or 4 times if she let him.
Well, can he go around here one time and lead the field gate to wire in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic and give Flightline the first defeat of his career? That is what Life is Good is trying to accomplish. And then Todd Pletcher, he's got to turn his binoculars because another big star is coming from his barn. Nest is out on the racetrack preparing for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff, and Nest is with the pony horse.
And I believe that is Nora, the other exercise rider that we've seen on so many of Todd Pletcher's big horses. We saw Nest yesterday in her gallop. She has a little bit more, I think, of an attitude. She kind of pins her ears a little bit. She definitely has some personality about her, and she's kind of doing that a little bit now. You can see the pony even reacting. He sort of pins his ears. They're matching energy a little bit right now, but no problems at this stage as they start just kind of a little bit of a jog to head towards the pole. Looks like that is her workmate along the inside. And similar to what we saw with Malathot, as the pony go ahead and turns her loose, she's going to, it looks like, be on the outside of her company here today.
And Nest now breaking off. A lot of heads were turned back on October 21st here at Keeneland when she worked in company with Malathot, and they worked together in a half mile in 48-3. But as Todd Pletcher told us here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup yesterday, going to change that up and not put those two together. But we got a chance to see Malathot earlier, and now we'll get to see Nest in her final major preparation before the showdown with her barn mate, Malathot. Nest, the daughter of Curlin out of the AP Indy mare Marion Ravenwood, and has had an outstanding year. There's no doubt that she will win the Eclipse Award for the nation's outstanding 3-year-old filly. But can she take her campaign this year to another level and now beat this field of older horses? Very good field, obviously, in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. But joining the workmate now.
Joining the workmate now, she does kind of jump into the bridle. Take a look at Nora. Really, look how her weight is so far back in her seat. Her heels are slammed forward, as we say, kind of in the dashboard there. She's trying to lean back against that weight and use all the strength that she has to hold her from doing too much too soon. I thought that Nest's work last week was really good, and she was, again, on the outside, having to work a little harder to keep up with that workmate. She comes right up around the outside, and they're both grabbing a hold here. I think the pace setter knows, hey, hold on, we can't go too fast, because, again, at this point, these horses are fit. They're race ready. If you're not fit now, it's too late. You don't want to do too much today and leave your race right out there on the racetrack. She's come back a little bit to her rider. She's a little more kind at this stage as they're finishing up the work. And I noticed last week, to her stamina and to how well she finishes out her races. Remember, she was second in the Belmont. Her gallop out is so strong. You cannot get to the bottom of this filly in here. Watch her pick it up as they finish. And now watch this gallop out. She's never going to come back until they ask her to. She could keep going. This is her biggest strength. Not only her class and her ability, but the way she's able to keep that tempo up and that high cruising speed for such a long time.
Well, you mentioned that Belmont Stakes where she was second against the boys. Prior to that, she was second in the Kentucky Oaks. And she is a prime example of how horses can get better when allowed the time to mature. And so late in her 3-year-old season now, she is at peak form, dominating wins in the Coaching Club American Oaks, dominating win in the Grade 1 Alabama, and then beat older horses when facing them for the first time with consummate ease in the Beldame. Nest, one of your favorites. And that's a debatable question. Who do you think does go favored?
I don't know.
And is it going to be Malathot or Nest?
Maybe Malathot just because she's older.
Yeah.
Nest is the 3-year-old filly taking on the olders in here. And you look at Malathot's record. She has that big win in the Personal Ensign in the Spinster. She's 3 for 3 here at Keeneland versus Nest 1 for 1 here at Keeneland. I think you might want to lean a little bit that direction, pari-mutually speaking, as far as the bettors go. But there wasn't a whole lot separating them in the work last week. I mean, these two are pretty on par in terms of their ability from what we have seen. I'm also just really struck by Nest's frame, by how big she is, by how long she is, carries her head high. You know, she's just built for distance, and you see that in her performances.
Owned by Rapoli Stable and Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners, Nest out on the track live here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Going into last year's Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, there were high expectations by the connections of Hot Rod Charlie. He was training great, and then the race happened, and it was just kind of a lackluster fourth, but he's doing it again. He's making people take a second look at him for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic because he is thriving in the mornings. And here is your most recent example.
Mr. October, right? He's coming into this time of year. And boy, he's strong in the mornings. His work last week was very, very good. He's confident off that win in the Lucas Classic. He had suffered some tough defeats. And there's a lot of talk about whether or not, he was hanging a little bit in the late stages of those races. Maybe it's a little bit of confidence that he's picked up off of that victory last time out at Churchill Downs. Big effort for him when he did compete here at Keeneland in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Let's see as he comes up to his workmate here. I'm going to go ahead and catch this horse pretty easily, listening to the rider, moving well, straightens up as they kind of square up down the lane, and he's going to put this horse away. Again, to the confidence. Let's give him a work maybe that is going to just make him feel good. He knows he's gone past this horse. Lengthen that stride, reach that front foot out to kind of open himself up a little bit. Beautiful work from Hot Rod Charlie. Tap on the shoulder as they hit the wire to keep him going through the gallop out. I like how you see him lower his body too. Yeah. That's where you really see horses that have those gears. It's when they drop and reach and you hit a couple strides. Drop and reach again. You saw that multiple times in this work. Excellent work for Hot Rod Charlie.
And it was over this racetrack that he had a huge effort in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as a 2-year-old. He was second in Essential Quality at odds of more than 40-1, so we know he likes it here at Keeneland. And I go back to that Whitney over the summer at Saratoga. On the far turn, I thought he was going to be a threat and go on to win. Instead, he had to settle for third behind Life is Good and Happy Saver. But Hot Rod Charlie thriving once again coming in to the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Could he pull off the unthinkable upset over Flightline and a horse like Life is Good, considered the main competition for Flightline? But certainly on looks, Hot Rod Charlie, fantastic here in Lexington, Kentucky. In the middle of all the action, Andy Biancone.
Cormac just breezed Ness. Nora, tell me your thoughts about that work.
That was perfect. Very easy.
Was she just relaxed, or oops, she's definitely a little spicy post breeze? We can keep jogging if you want, but you thought she felt really good.
Oh yeah, she was perfect. Yeah, just what she needed to do.
Gotcha. So what Nora said, everybody, is that she was great. As you can see, Ness was very fired up today. I mean, yesterday she was snuggling with the pony and everything, but once it's game time, she absolutely knows what's going on. I mean, you could just see her reaction to the pony today versus yesterday. Yesterday she was like, let's be friends. Today she's like, let's go. Come at me. So smart fillies are absolutely like that, and she looks fantastic. Definitely didn't take much out of her at all. That work was very easy. She's happy, breathing easily. So I would say perfect.
Well, and this is something you alluded to, Christina, and that is the personalities of these horses. And it's not just managing the physical part of it, it's managing their emotions as well that trainers are in charge of. But what I love about this show is getting to now know the personalities of the horses that we've followed all year long.
Well, I think sometimes, too, for the fillies and mares, you kind of want that little chip on their shoulder. You want a little bit of that spiciness that Andy alluded to there. Rags to Riches was famous for that. She was nobody's pet. She didn't want to be treated kind of given the carrots and patted. And I heard a funny story even after her retirement that she was at Coolmore, I believe it was. Todd Pletcher came walking down the shed road just to go visit her and see her, and she came charging out the webbing with her mouth open, angry, and that was her. And I think sometimes with these fillies and mares, that can be the mark of a good one. You want a little bit of attitude. You want them to throw their weight around, and she competed against the boys. She would have to have a bit of that.
Let's go back to Future Stars Friday and now take a look at Blazing Sevens preparing for the Juvenile, and a tall task taking on some of the big horses in this division, but Blazing Sevens going to give that attempt. This is Blazing Sevens moments ago out on the track here at Keeneland.
I think it's another horse where we kind of trust in Chad Brown, right? This is a horse that he's kind of put on the fast track really quickly, and he's a son of Good Magic, who Chad trained, and we know these horses are improving with distance, so he's probably one that will do so. The win by 3 1/4 lengths in the Champagne, I'm not sure that came up as the toughest field in the Champagne that we've seen over the last few years. It was a shorter group, just 6 of them went postward that day, but this guy has a nice long stride on him. I like what we're seeing. I like how he comes off the turn there with a nice smooth lead change, and he also has light contact with the rider. He's kind of doing it all on his own out there. This is a smart horse. He's a professional, especially for a young one. Good work for Blazing Sevens today. But he's going to need to step up. He needs to step up against Cave Rock. He needs to step up against Forte. But he looks like he has the tools, the breeding, obviously the conditioner, to go ahead and do that and make that progression and take that step forward.
Well, Todd Pletcher has been busy all morning. I walked in when we started the show at 7 a.m. with him as he was going to watch some of his horses work, and then he went back to the barn. He's back in the grandstand. Let's see how he's feeling about these 2 major works we just watched in his barn. Gabby Gaudet.
Todd, thank you. And Todd, let's start with Life is Good. You decided to work him at 9 today because of the crowd that was attracted by Flightline earlier today. What did you see from this work? He looked like he had a spirited work today.
He always does. I mean, he's a superior workhorse, and yeah, I like the timing of it. We were able to come out here right at 9, get over the track, one of the first ones, if not the first one over the track, and he was handbrake on the whole way, minute and change, galloped out the mile, 1:39 and change, and typical of what we've seen from him his whole career.
And in terms of Nest, obviously you said yesterday didn't want to pair her up with Malathat to just get a little bit more of a maintenance work. What did you see from her today?
It was perfect. I had like 25-1, 24-1. She was hard held throughout and looked like she was eager to do more, which is the way we wanted to play it today.
She looked like she was bucking and kicking coming off the track. That's got to be a great sign to see.
Yeah, she's super happy. She's had a great time since she shipped into Keeneland, and hopefully things continue to go well, but really, really happy with this morning.
In terms of Happy Saver, what's the plan for him in preparation for the Breeders' Cup?
So he just had a pretty spirited gallop here. We kind of let him 2-minute clip all the way around there, and we're going to do similar to what we did with the Mount Mile. We're going to kind of just go in with the one breeze 2 weeks out instead of he tends to run better, we think, when he's a little bit fresh. So he'll have a couple strong gallops like he did this morning, but he won't breeze again.
One more thought, Malathot.
She was awesome. Just looked like she was on cruise control throughout. Again, similar with Nest. We're running back in 27 days. We had a good work last week. We just wanted to leave this morning wanting more, and I think that we were able to accomplish that with both of them.
I lied. One more question. Life is good. Life is good. What makes you how are you confident that he can go back to the mile and a quarter?
Well, if you watch him this morning, I mean, that's what we're used to seeing. He goes 5/8 in a minute, and then he gallops out a mile in 1:39 and change, and it's hard to pull up at the end. So, we're just hoping that we catch a track that be the first opportunity to run a mile and a quarter on a kind of a real surface, not like we ran on in Dubai, which was just it was really, really deep that night, and I think that played against him.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Life is good. Outstanding record, 9 wins from 11 starts, but it's where those 9 wins have happened, and earnings of over $4.3 million. And looking at the main competition for Flightline, to those comments that Todd Pletcher mentioned about his super fillies out there, Malathot and Nest, look, Flightline delivered in his workout. If we were grading workouts, just to my eye test, to me, Nest had one of the best workouts we've seen this morning.
Yeah, she did. And as Gabby said, the kind of energy that she was showing coming off the racetrack is definitely what you want to see from her as well. So much credit to the exercise riders, and not to take anything away from any of the other riders that we see out here kind of day to day working for any of the smaller barns. But if you're an exercise rider for Todd Pletcher, if you're an exercise rider for Bill Mott, if you're an exercise rider for Brad Cox, you're one of the best. And that's why, these are the riders that have that brilliant clock in their head, that work well with a tough horse, that work well under pressure. There's a lot of pressure in a race scenario, but there's a lot of pressure in the mornings to get it right. And everybody has been picture perfect, hitting those times that all the trainers wanted this morning.
It really has been a perfect morning here at Keeneland, not with just what we've watched on the track, but what Keeneland has done in setting up what is essentially a family day here for everyone to come out and enjoy. There's face painting for the kids. I also got all my donuts. Most recently, they don't charge much for it either, too. It's like you can get coffee and donuts I got that whole thing for about $5. But Keeneland wants, and that's the thing. Everyone has stayed around. The track apron is full, and racing doesn't start until 1 o'clock. So we're still about 4 hours away from the first race on the final day of the fall meet. But thank you to Keeneland Racecourse for not only sponsoring a breakfast at the Breeders' Cup along with WinStar Farm, but what they're doing here to bring a new generation of fans to the racetrack. And then these kids can remember when. There you go. Look at this. I mean, there's no other racetrack where this happens. And I know we love Clocker's Corner out at Santa Anita, and it is also a great atmosphere there. But no track draws the crowds like they do here at Keeneland for the donuts in the morning. Speaking of Clocker's Corner, we're getting close to sunrise out there at Santa Anita. We're also getting close to some major workouts out in Arcadia, California. Let's rejoin Michelle Yu.
Bring him back. Oh, Todd, we had Juan Ochoa here. He's the guy that gets on Taiba, who's right over here. I'm going to see if we can't track him down. He might have walked himself into a corner where he can't escape me. We always like to know from the riders what they think about their horse, right? There he is. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning.
Were you trying to hide from me?
No, I was just, putting my light in my radio, making sure they're on.
Can you tell me what it's like to ride a horse that's getting ready for the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Same like another horse. Try to get along, Try to do my job.
Is Taiba hard to get along with?
No, he's a nice horse. Really good.
Are you enjoying this lead up where the spotlight becomes on you?
You know what? When I get up there, I'm just concentrating on the horse, try to do my best, and hopefully everything goes right.
Tell me, now, Baffert uses earpieces to talk to you guys. Did it take a long time to acclimate to hearing someone speak to you while you're riding?
No, he doesn't say much. As long as, we kind of know what he wants. So as long as we don't get in trouble, we're good.
Thanks, Juan. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, Jimmy, for letting us into your office. See, sometimes we have reluctant stars out here, Todd, that we have to get into the spotlight. But he's going to be aboard Taiba, who's set to go out in about 7 minutes for his final Santa Anita work.
And you will see it live here on FanDuel TV. Looking forward to that moment out in California as we come to the final portions of our show here. Some major workouts still remain. Love Reigns out on the track. We got a chance to see Love Reigns a little bit earlier. In fact, the work the other day for the Juvenile Turf Sprint, but this is a live look at Love Reigns making a fantastic impression out on the track right now. We'll be back with more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup here on FanDuel TV.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger. Snake Neck Spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won. It's getting really tight. The star of the season, drawing line. The purple cap. Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. The other midline. Mongostine has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
On FanDuel Casino, we make it easy to turn your site credit into real money. Unlike other casinos who make you wager your site credit over and over before you can withdraw it, we play fair. Just play through it once and you keep what you win. Turning all your site credit into real cash is that simple. Plus, you'll get paid your...
Longines.
Chase the day with Day Chaser Cocktails, the official ready-to-drink canned cocktail of Breeders' Cup.
Would you think less of me if I had one of those day chasers right now?
Kay Adams can drink on her show. I
was going to say, she's giving away the K-Makers while drinking a beer. All right, let's look at social media as it relates to the Breeders' Cup. Want to be on the Breakfast at Breeders' Cup show? Tell us, where is your favorite Breeders' Cup location? Been a lot of talk about that. I've enjoyed a lot of Breeders' Cups over the years. I've been talking about maybe setting the rotation to a few tracks. I love the rotation we're in right now.
I do too. Back to Santa Anita next year. Fingers crossed. Maybe Del Mar after that. We'll see.
Belmont Park, and I'd love to see Saratoga is one. You know, I think what's happened here with Monmouth in 2007 and now what we have here at Keeneland, it's paved the way for quote-unquote smaller racetracks. Maybe Saratoga could happen. Taking a look at hands down Santa Anita, always fast and firm. There was talk, you remember, for a while, just make Santa Anita the permanent location, and certainly it has everything you need. It could handle a crowd of 100,000 with ease, and obviously the weather is usually always great.
And I think it's such a big draw for the Europeans, too, to be able to go somewhere where they know they're going to get firm ground.
Yep.
We've been very lucky here at Keeneland, but you're not as certain that you'll have the firm ground to attract those international horses.
Henry Bradley saying, oh, Breeders' Cup at Del Mar, yo. And we enjoyed it there last year, and it is going to be coming back around to where the turf meets the surf, and it'll be next year that we'll be at Santa Anita. But right now we're enjoying what we're having here at Keeneland with the Breeders' Cup looming this upcoming Friday and a week from today, Saturday, the second championship day. And you think about the first Breeders' Cup here in that signature moment, American Pharoah, first Triple Crown winner we've had in such a long time, and then punctuating it with a dominating win in the Breeders' Cup Classic. The fact that we could anticipate Flightline being just as good and just as a significant moment tells you what a special horse he is.
Absolutely. Let's hope that we get to have that big moment again. And it's just going to be so great to welcome the fans back, because 2020
Yes.
we were very fortunate to be here and to be able to witness it ourselves working the event. But so many people had tickets that were looking forward to being here, and I know Keeneland has honored a lot of those tickets to come back and enjoy it this year.
We're going to see something very special, either a Flightline dominating performance or maybe a shocking upset at the hands of Taiba, who's out at Santa Anita getting ready to go to the track and under the watchful eye of Michelle Yu.
Thank you, Todd. Watching Taiba come out right now. He's about to get riders up. You spoke with Wanachoa just a little bit earlier on, and they'll be going out in company for this particular move. Right now, the plan is 5 furlongs, is what I've been told, but Bob Baffert has been known to change things on the fly. Going to make any changes today?
No changes today.
All right, 5 furlongs it is. We're heading out to the track right now, guys. 6:30, the track opens, and Taiba will be breezing.
All right, so the very latest from trainer Bob Baffert as well. And you can see the sun trying to peek out there at Santa Anita. And a busy backside in Arcadia, California. And starting to calm down here at Keeneland as most of the major work is done here. There are going to be some significant workouts at Santa Anita once we're done here at the top of our next hour, which would be 10 a.m. Eastern time, so only 7 a.m. in California. So plan on seeing those workouts tomorrow, and one of them will be a horse that has done so much in a short amount of time. We talk about Flightline being a horse that is the signature horse on Saturday. Well, for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Cave Rock, you look at what he's done in a short amount of time. He is going to be the massive star on Future Stars Friday. So that's a horse that will come out later at Santa Anita, so we'll see that work tomorrow.
Yeah, to me, what Cave Rock's biggest sort of eye-opening weapon is the way that he accelerates at the end of his works, or his races. He's out there and he's, able to rate, he's able to be on the lead, but then at the 8th pole, he kicks like a turf horse on the dirt, and he's a young horse. I mean, he's just an overwhelming talent, is Cave Rock. But I've been at Santa Anita the last few weeks. I'm really looking forward to the work that we're able to show tomorrow that's going to happen after the show today. His work two-back was monster. I mean, if you have a chance to go take a look at XBTV, look two-back to, I think it was October 17th. That was one of his best works. His work last week, if I'm going to be critical, the gallop out wasn't as strong as we're used to from him. And this is Bob Baffert's program. The gallop out is a big part of his works. So I'm very curious to see what we get from Cave Rock tomorrow. I think a lot of the Arrogates are a little bit laid back. Todd, I've been around a couple of them. My husband has one in his barn. So it might have just been that this is his personality, and if he wasn't really sent into that gallop out, that's why he kind of came off the bridle a touch. But I want to see if they correct that in the work today, and if that's what we're able to show you tomorrow.
Christina, you bring up an important point that I don't think we talk often enough on the show. It's one workout. In most cases, we're not going to probably see 2 workouts, but if we do, that's still just 2 snapshots in time. These horses, in the case of Flightline, as we talked about, 5 workouts leading to the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. So you can have an off morning. It's not always going to be great. Some horses just don't feel it like the rest of us when we get up in the morning. That could not be said for the work today by Flightline. It was fantastic. Flightline coming out on to the track. If you didn't see it with us earlier, the sun was just starting to come up, and Juan Leyva aboard wearing the blinker you can see on the helmet, so we could see Flightline all the way around.
Taking flight this morning, finishing touches on one of the world's most exciting horses. One of my favorite stories from the last couple of weeks was listening to Bill Farish talk about how he got a phone call after the TVG Pacific Classic, and just a few days before Her Majesty the Queen passed away, she called to talk about Flightline. This is a horse that has global reach, that has global interest, that has a global impact, and this is how good he is. And we know from over the years, just watching, Her Majesty's participation at Royal Ascot and in racing, how much of a passion it was for her. I think anybody that's a fan of horse racing is interested in this horse. What's he going to do? You want to see that devastating performance, and we were lucky enough to see it in the TVG Pacific Classic. I mean, I had stars in my eyes watching what he did out there by 19 1/4 lengths with the Dubai World Cup winner behind him and a group of Grade 1 horses.
Yeah, could he run the fastest Breeders' Cup Classic? Most think he could on his way to victory and then ensure also a track record. Out at Santa Anita, Taiba, he has been on the fast track ever since he broke his maiden, and only his third start, he was already in the Kentucky Derby.
Bob Baffert has always known just how talented this horse is, and Michelle is right out there up close as he begins this work.
Christina, since you guys were talking about works and the frequency, it is worth noting that Taiba has worked every 5 days since October 14th. So he worked the 14th 5 furlongs, the 19th 6 furlongs, the 24th 6 furlongs, and then today he'll work 5. Even for a program like Bob Baffert's where they drill horses continuously, that is a really short time in between. He is making sure this horse is going to be super ready. We know he's a lackadaisical and half careless workhorse, so this could just be to make sure they have plenty of bottom in him as he goes to his biggest test yet.
Mike Smith will be aboard Taiba, and he has every confidence in this 3-year-old, the son of Gunrunner out of the Flatter mare, Need More Flattery, bred by Bruce Ryan here in Kentucky. You are watching live Taiba out at Santa Anita, literally under the cover of darkness as the sun is trying to rise up above those San Gabriel Mountains. But Taiba having his final workout before taking on Flightline, Life is Good, and others in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. You know, and to Michelle's point, you know, part of the Bob Baffert program, as we talk about it, is these fast workouts in between races. So it's literally races between actual races.
It is. I think the horses in Southern California are some of the fittest horses in the world. And Bob Baffert's style of training has had an influence on American racing. If you want to beat him, you need to be fit. You need to have a horse that is equally as fast and equally as fit to compete.
And the communication with exercise riders by the walkie-talkie, wasn't that really Baffert early on, and then everyone kind of followed suit with that?
I think so. I mean, having just that radio that he's had and you know, in communication back and forth to the riders. I remember my dad, when he was riding, he was also very active in the morning in terms of breezing horses. He had a very good clock in his head, but he had also MacGyvered this stopwatch to his wrist and then somehow had this little, like, pulley system on it on his thumb. So he could, as he had the reins in his hand, wiggle his thumb and it would hit the stopwatch so he could see the splits. So he was hitting every time out there in the morning. That was before you had walkie-talkies back and forth and the trainer had the radio right there to tell you what to do.
Yeah, necessity certainly is the mother of invention, and it's almost like we're watching two coal miners out here as the lights are on the helmets of the exercise riders as Taiba being taken through his last major workout before the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. And as is the case almost all the time, the Baffert horses working in company.
So I think that's, gosh, it's hard to tell. I thought for a second we saw another horse kind of in front of them that they were going to have to pass and circle around. Juan Ochoa is on the outside and right now in the middle. So there was another horse. This is not one of their workmates. But now the two Bafferts are holding the rail and along that space. So Taiba is in the middle of this group. Juan Ochoa going to go ahead and pull his stick through to the left-hand side. You see, he's got to ask him. You got to kind of push on this horse. Ask him for his best. Michelle noted, and this has been Taiba from the beginning. He's not a brilliant workhorse. He doesn't do much more than you ask him to do. But he has that long stride, and he really kind of, with each stride, covers more ground and gets a little better. Good gallop out here, strong gallop out, keeping him going. This is not one of those works that's going to blow you away, but this is Taiba. This is what he does. This is what he did going into the Pennsylvania Derby. He was a 3-length winner that day. He's come back with those works 5 days apart. Bob Baffert leaving no stone unturned. They are going to have this horse very sharp. In addition to being fit, with a horse that's a little laid back like this, they want him to be sharp coming into the Classic.
So representing the 3-year-old crop against their older counterparts in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. You got the Kentucky Derby winner, Rich Strike. You got Taiba, who's come to hand. And then you've got Epicenter, who right now is the leader of that division, I think, in most people's minds for the Eclipse Award. And as pointed out by Joaquin Jaime, we have not seen a lot of the Steve Asmussen horses based on the timing. It's just the time of the show. We will see Epicenter very, very soon. Where do you think these 3-year-olds rank up against the older horses?
I think it's a good group of 3-year-olds that we have this year, but I think this is, as you say, a generational group of older horses. I mean, in any other year, we'd be talking about Life is Good as a super horse coming into this Breeders' Cup. You might be talking about the distance a little bit, whether or not he wants to get it, because that's still a question mark for him. But the presence of Flightline, the presence of Life is Good, the 3-year-olds do need to improve. Epicenter, to me, I would agree, is the leader of the division, and I'm interested in that he's been sort of kept in secret to this point. I want to see what we get from Epicenter in the work tomorrow. Steve Asmussen has all the faith in the world in this horse, but he's training him up to this race. So this is a little bit different than what we're seeing from the other 3-year-olds that have had some more recent races under their belts. Epicenter didn't miss a beat earlier. He went all the way through the Triple Crown. He's definitely going to be fit and ready to fire, but he needs to come with his career best, and maybe that's what Steve Asmussen's trying to do, trying to train him to another peak performance.
You're talking about the wonderful job that Amelia Green did with Life is Good earlier when we watched that last workout here. Standing by with Amelia Green is Andy Biancone, and I'm wondering if her arms were pulled out of the sockets there, Andy. Yeah.
Todd, although Life is Good is very strong, what she has here you can't buy from Walmart, and that's good hands. That is stronger than any amount of muscle. But anyways, Amelia, just reflecting on the work this morning, I know that was Life is Good, those scooters, last work going into the Breeders' Cup, but that was also your last work on him forever. I hate to say that. I want to cry, but can you just walk us through some of your emotions?
Obviously, I'm very proud of what he's achieved, and I feel very lucky to have been along for the ride with him. And I'm thankful for the place he's took me, and I'm very happy to be here with him. I'm very proud of him for what he's achieved and how much he's relaxed in the last year and a half. Yeah, I'm just proud of him.
How much has he changed from the day he arrived in the Pletcher barn to today?
He's just matured in every way, physically, mentally. He knows his job, and he loves his job, but at the same time now he'll listen to you, and you can kindly persuade him to do what you want to do. But he's a lot more relaxed now, and whatever you ask him to do, he'll do it.
What has been your favorite moment with him?
Just the whole ride, the places he's took us, the races he's won, just everything about him.
I know you don't like to take a lot of credit, but you've done an incredible job with that horse. Scooter, I mean, from the day he came to who he is today, just a completely 180 all around, incredible horse. Fantastic job to you, Amelia.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
And Christina, it's getting overlooked now because we're further in his career, but you know, this horse started with Bob Baffert and then has been on a different journey with trainer Todd Pletcher. And you look at the two losses, as Todd explained, Dubai World Cup was a total toss-up because of the track. But the other loss was second to Jackie's Warrior when he first came to the barn, had not raced from March until August, and he almost beat Jackie's Warrior in what was an unreal race in the Allen Jerkins. Life is Good. What an accomplishment, and what a great job by Team Pletcher.
Great job, indeed. And I think one of the things about him that I find most interesting is you probably could have put him in a number of different divisions, and he would have been equally as talented. If they wanted him to be a sprinter, he would have been one of the favorites for the sprint. They ran him in the dirt mile, and he ran him off their feet. Now we're stretching him in the classic. This is a horse moving forward into his next career to be very excited about as a stallion, because he has shown his versatility and his class to be brilliant at different distances. That's very unique, and we have it with Life is Good.
Again, congratulations to the WinStar Farm and China Horse Club. No matter how this turns out in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, Life is Good has had a remarkable career and has been a pleasure to watch on the track. And again, congratulations to the entire team for what they've done throughout the career of Life is Good. Looking forward to that matchup in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic on Breeders' Cup Saturday, as we have 9 championship races then. But it will all start with Future Stars Friday with 5 championship races here at Keeneland Racecourse, and we will have all the latest information for you here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup and on FanDuel TV. Let's check in with Joaquin Jaime.
Yeah, Todd, good morning. As we're winding down and getting to 10 o'clock out here on the East Coast, when we come back, we're going to start looking at the 2-year-olds on Future Stars Friday. One of those 2-year-olds is going to be working on the turf coming up in just a little bit at 10 a.m., and that is going to be the undefeated Iowa bred in Tyler's Tribe. So we're going to step away for a break here on FanDuel TV, but you're going to want to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to tell you the emotional and courageous story on who Tyler's Tribe is named after.
This is a Kentucky thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
$1,400,000, $2,300,000.
Right here, give it a bite. $1.5 million. Thank you. $1 million monthly. Thank you. $1,200,000. $1,150,000. $1,001,000.
$1,050,000. Thank you.
The Best 2-Year-Old by legendary sire Quality Road.
In the back, $1.5 million.
Very, very impressive debut. Cantering home. Could not have been more impressive.
Coast to coast in the American Pharaoh. He's the real deal.
Undefeated and unchallenged at 2.
He's just too good. He wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Corniche, the newest champion to Coolmore, America.
Union Rags, proving Lane's End's tried and true stallion-making formula. A formula that leads to success for our partners and our stallions. He's a leader in his sire crop by graded stakes winners and Grade 1 winners. He's a commercial standout with multiple million-dollar sales and a 6-figure yearling average. And with 4 full books bred at 50 and 60,000, he has even more exciting progeny in the pipeline. Union Rags, a stallion that stands above the rest.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger.
Snake Neck Spear and Asheen Murphy get through and have won.
It's getting really tight. The star of the season, Drawing Line.
The purple cap. Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. The other midline. Mongostine has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
This proven son of Giants Causeway has sired 7 millionaires. With over 10% stakes performers, his recent top runners include Tarabi, placed in the Grade 1 Spinaway and Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, Grade 2 winner Plum Ali, plus these standout performers.
It's a Bushido coming down to the wire in the Ontario Racing Stakes has run them ragged.
A proven value sire, First Samurai, standing at Claiborne Farm.
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
They arrive at the top of the stretch. So Tyler's Tribe doing it nicely thus far, but Palace Guard running hard, trying to make up some ground, still 5 lengths away. Big Luke is moved into third from the back of the pack, but it's all Tyler's Tribe. Tyler's Tribe just cantering past the 16th pole. He's a 6-length winner of the Iowa Cradle.
Well, in the Breeders' Cup this year, there is an undefeated horse who is a perfect 5 for 5, who's won his races by a combined nearly 60 lengths. You would think I'm talking about Flightline. I'm actually talking about the undefeated Iowa bred in Tyler's Tribe. He's going to be running on Future Stars Friday in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Here's more on his journey off the racetrack on what Tyler and his tribe have had to go through in the last 24 months.
I'm Tyler's older brother.
And I'm Tyler's cousin.
We're part of Tyler's tribe.
I'm Tyler's little brother. I'm part of Tyler's tribe. I'm Tyler's cousin. I'm part of Tyler's tribe. We are Tyler's tribe!
I didn't have any aspirations of buying a horse, but I pulled up the videos and the photos of horses that are going to be in the sale, and I saw the horse who is now Tyler's tribe. What I loved was his size, his conformation, but I really needed somebody a lot smarter than me, so I called Tim.
I saw the photo, I said, this horse don't look like no Iowa bred. Tyler's tribe looks like a Kentucky bred. He was just outstanding. I ain't seen a horse like him in a long time.
He called me back, he goes, wow, you're right, this is quite a horse. And that day we agreed, yeah, let's try to buy this horse. A couple days after I bought it, I turned to my wife, Polly, and I said, what do you think, Tyler's tribe? She goes, wow, be perfect, because got a grandson, as you know, who was diagnosed with leukemia as a 6-year-old. He had some tough times.
Ring this bell 3 times well. It's told to clearly say, my treatment's done, this course is run, and I am on my way.
I've been through cancer for about 2.5 years, and I beat cancer.
He's the most resilient kid ever. In the beginning, we were in the hospital for almost 6 weeks. He had countless surgeries, and he took it with a smile, and it just kept on fighting and never gave up.
It's been a journey.
Yeah. It has.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely a day we've looked forward to.
And the tribe has been with him every part of the way.
His mother, my daughter, started a Facebook called Tyler's Tribe. It became big. It was amazing, the following, and that whole following has taken off now, and they come to the racetrack, and it's huge.
And it's all Tyler's tribe. He's putting on another show tonight. Tyler's tribe remains undefeated. Tyler's tribe just cantering past the 16th pole.
The last race that I run him in, the Iowa Cradle, he needed to win that race and win impressive to come to Keeneland. And he was 5 for 5, so he's done everything more than we've asked him to do. He does it with ease every time.
Tyler loves having all those people and being with all those people at the racetrack. He understands that what it's all about, and he understands it's also about leukemia. He understands why we named it, understands the whole thing. And when we announced to the tribe that we're going to the Breeders' Cup, they said we'd never miss it. So we got a lot of people from Iowa coming to the Breeders' Cup.
And Tyler was receiving his treatment at the Stead Family Children's Hospital in Iowa. It's actually right next to Kinnick Stadium, where the football team plays, where the Buckeyes play. And one of the new traditions in college football, one of the great new traditions in college football, is where everybody in the football stadium in Kinnick Stadium turn to the children at the Children's Hospital. They look up out the glass windows and they waved all the children in the hospital on the 12th floor. Well, unfortunately, Tyler wasn't able to have that Buckeye tradition because it was during more intense COVID protocols at the time when he was going through his treatment there at the Stead Family Children's Hospital. But Todd, not everybody of his family and friends and part of the tribe were able to be there on bell ringing day, which just happened for Tyler. That was just the other day on a Monday on October 24th. And I was told over 250 family and friends were actually at Tyler's Tribe's last race at Prairie Meadows, and the family expecting another huge turnout for Tyler's Tribe when he runs in the Breeders' Cup on Friday here at Keeneland.
Yeah, whether Tyler's Tribe wins or loses, it's not the point. He is a winner already with the attention he's brought to this very serious disease and to a very special young man, and really everyone pulling together there with Tyler's Tribe.
What a special boy. I hope we get to meet him just after kind of learning more about his story. Good luck to the connections and to the horseman that spotted some brilliance in his horse from the get-go. You know, there's so many parts of the story. They're kind of weaving themselves together, and there's stories behind every horse. We talk about it all the time, but some definitely pull at your heartstrings a little more so than others. I think we'd all be very happy to see Tyler's Tribe win come Friday.
Only the second Iowa bred to compete in the Breeders' Cup. Go Hawkeyes. Go Tyler's Tribe. Okay, the Juvenile, as part of Future Stars Friday, taking a look at National Treasure out on the track for trainer Bob Baffert in company and is the horse to the outside.
National Treasure is a horse that has run twice so far. He broke his maiden first time out with blinkers on, and then Bob Baffert elected to take the blinkers off for the American Pharaoh. He ended up a solid second behind his stablemate Cave Rock. Cave Rock was the winner by 5 1/4 lengths. This guy is a son of Quality Road. He's out of a Medaglia d'Oro mare. He's coming up to the outside of his workmate in here. I'm just curious to see no blinkers today. Does he put him back on? It's so dark, I can't quite tell. I was listening to Bob Baffert talk a little bit to Juan Ochoa in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I think he does have some on. I could tell he was kind of flirting back and forth with the idea of whether or not to put them back on or not. I think Bob feels like he hasn't gotten the best of this horse in the afternoons. Look at that gallop out, too. I mean, he looks good out there. I think he's still trying to find the right recipe to get what you just saw translated to the afternoons with this horse.
And Michelle, you is with trainer Bob Baffert.
Thanks, guys. I am joined by Bob Baffert. And Christina, you are right. He did have on a set of blinkers today. Bob, why'd you put the blinkers back on?
Well, he'd been working with blinkers before he ran. I took him off for the race. I didn't want him to get too aggressive. It was his first time without him. I wanted to see how he reacted. He broke a little slow, you know, but he has a lot of speed, and I didn't want him to get into a speed duel. I want him to learn how to relax, and I think he got a lot out of that. And so today I breezed him with just a tiny little blinker, just to keep him a little bit focused, and he sat off. It was perfect company for him. The Carmel Road's a nice horse. Sat off of him. When he asked him to go, he picked it up, was moving beautifully there at the end, and I think he went 59 and change out, 11 and change. So it was a nice work. You know, you want to see that going into it. I've always been very high on this horse. I wanted to run him in the Breeders' Fraternity. He didn't have enough money to run there, so I had to take my other team in there, so it didn't work out. But he looked good. I mean, if going into the Breeders' Cup, there's no excuses. You know, he has to ship well now and everything.
Now, just really quickly, want to touch on Taiba. What were your thoughts? Is it hard to judge him because he is such a lackadaisical workhorse?
He is a very he's just going to work as fast as his mate, all right? And he worked with Messier, and they went off a little slower, but they went well, and they went out 7/8 and 26, but they came back really well. I mean, Taiba doesn't take a deep breath.
The 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, 5 days. Tell me about it.
I like that, don't you?
I like it.
It'll be in my book someday.
All right, guys.
I got that from Charlie Whittingham.
Charlie Whittingham giving Bob Baffert the look of the Eagles to the white-haired genius.
Sometimes it works.
And remember, Cave Rock is working later. You'll see that workout tomorrow. And as we close out this edition of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, I want to say to you, Christina Blacker, I'll go with you anywhere. Great work today.
Thank you.
Great work.
I appreciate it.
We were missing two of our colleagues. We want to wish them well. Simon Bray, sick. We can't wait till you're back here. Just get better, as well as Scott Hazelton. But to our entire crew, thank you for spending this morning with us. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Birds on a line, but it was all about Flightline, your heavy favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, and a large crowd gathering to see him. We hope you enjoyed our coverage. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse. So much more coming up, leading to 2 championship days of racing, November 4th and November 5th. What a day on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup here on FanDuel TV. Make every moment more.
Everyday wins make your day that much better. And now, you have a chance at free everyday wins when you play FanDuel Casino's Reward Machine, the new daily free-to-play game that offers you the chance to win up to $2,000 in casino bonus. So take a chance on more everyday wins with Reward Machine, only on FanDuel Casino.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at TVG.com. Find selections in either the Promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the Bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at TVG.com.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.